जी। Goswami Astakam, text 3 and 4. Shri Gauranga Gunanuvarnana Vidha Shraddha Samriddhi Anvito Shri Gauranga Gunanuvarnana Vidha Shraddha Samriddhi Anvito पापोत्तापनिकृन्तनौतनुभृता गोविन्दगानामृते आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनैकनिपुनो कैवल्य निस्तारको वन्दे रूप सनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको त्यक्त्वा तूर्णमशेषमण्डलपति श्रेणीं सदा तोच्छवान् भूत्वा दीनगणेशको करुणया त्वपि न कण्ठाश्रितो गोपी भावरसामृताब्धिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नो मुहुः वन्दे रूप सनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको वन्दे सनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको Goswami Astakam ki Read the translation. We'll read for all four. Take Mike, read for the first one and then.
Offer, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. They are just like the ocean of love of God, and they are popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they are not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they are all pleasing to everyone, and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Thus, they are engaged in missionary activities meant to deliver all the conditioned souls in the material universe.
Give to him. Second.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jeev Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very much enriched in understanding of Lord Chaitanya, who are thus expert in narrating his transcendental qualities. They can purify all conditioned souls from the reaction of their sinful activities by pouring upon them a transcendental song about Govinda. As such, they are very expert in increasing the limits of the ocean of transcendental bliss, and they are the savior of the living entities from the devouring mouth of liberation.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who kicked off all association of aristocracy as insignificant. In order to deliver the poor conditioned souls, they accepted loincloths, treating themselves as mendicants, but they are always merged in that ecstatic ocean of the gopis, love for Krishna, and bathe always and repeatedly in the waves of that ocean.
Kicked off all association with aristocracy. त्यक्त्वा तूर्णमशेष जय सड़गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोन् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजाता सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साधुवैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim. Yat kripat tamaham vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam. Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. Welcome back for today's discussion. We'll continue our discussion on third canto, chapter number 14. Just a brief review of chapter 13. After that, we'll go into what we saw yesterday and then we'll see today. Yesterday we discussed the chapter, the appearance of Lord Varahadev. So, after the creation of Swayambhu, Manu and Shatrupa, Vidura is further expressing his eagerness to hear about them. And why does he want to hear about Swayambhu Manu? Because he has taken shelter of the Lord. So, hearing is a very, very essential part of our existence. Our mental attitude, our desires, they're all based on hearing. Whatever content we hear, depending on from whom we hear and what we hear, accordingly we develop the desires. In childhood also you can see if, it is not that everyone from the childhood starts liking cricket. But people talk about cricket so much that if we don't know about anything and we don't have anything to contribute, then we feel we are out of place. So then other people also start becoming addicted to watching cricket. Any movie, we may see the poster and all, but primarily through the hearing. If somebody certifies this movie is super hit, this movie is very nice, then people tend to, make a plan to go to watch that movie. And similarly, coming to ISKCON also, we heard from someone, it's nice, we get nice prasad, we get nice question to answers. So that hearing from someone only inspired us to come. So our desires and our attitudes are very much a function of what we hear and from whom we hear. So Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us that one should hear about the Lord and his interaction with his pure devotees. And such description also should be heard from the pure devotees themselves. Because pure devotees carry affection for the Lord in their heart. And by hearing from them, that affection gets transferred to our heart. And that is the process of Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. It is not by reading any amount of books, any kind of books, any kind of explanations, any kind of commentaries, any kind of, so many things may be there, but it is only by the process of pleasing the spiritual master and hearing from him that this knowledge gets revealed to us. So that is why eagerness to hear is a repeatedly emphasized concept within Srimad Bhagavatam. Time and again this is repeated. And this is demonstrated through the eagerness to hear of the characters being involved. So this chapter begins with eagerness to hear and also concludes with glorification of hearing. So Vidura expresses his eagerness to hear about Swayambhu Manu. Then there's a conversation between Brahmaji and Manu in 10 verses, where Swayambhu Manu is eager to follow the order of Brahma. And Brahmaji congratulates Swayambhu Manu and says that I'm very pleased with you as a son and a disciple wanting to serve with the following qualities. 5 qualities are being mentioned here in 2 verses. Nirveli Kenandra, Atma Arpitam, Apramatter, Sa Adaram, and Gata Matsharaha. So these 5 qualities are essential to cultivate if we really want to follow the instruction of the superiors or the spiritual master. Prabhupada in that purport to Narad Muni's, surrender to the Bhakti Vedantas, he said that without being disciplined, without being obedient, and without being self-controlled. DOS command. DOS command. Earlier there is to be now. Without being disciplined, without being obedient, and without being self-controlled, no one can become successful in following the instruction of the spiritual master. And without following the instruction of the spiritual master, one cannot achieve any success in spiritual life. It is Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasadam. So Brahmaji glorifies Vaibhav for these 5 qualities. Nirveli Kendra, without reservation. Atma Arpitam, he transferred his ahanta and mamata. He did not have a separate sense of I and mine. Apramatta, he was fully cognizant, he was not insane, mad. Sa Adaram, with great respect. And Gat Matsaraha, he was not envious of other fellow devotees or other people who are also following the similar path. And then Brahmaji gives him instruction: beget children similar to you, rule the earth, worship the Lord through sacrifice. And there the qualities of administration also are being mentioned, that the administrator should educate the dependents, engage the dependent, and set the right example for the dependents. So that section is being discussed, and after that, Swayambhavan is asking, where should I recite? Where should I create? So then Brahmaji realizes that the Bhuloka, that has gone into the Garbhoda Koshin. So Brahmaji starts meditating, and then Varahadev appears from his nostril, and is considered an incarnation of the Vedas personified, because when Lord breathed out, he breathed out the Vedas, and Brahma inhaled the Vedas. And then when Brahma exhaled, the Vedas again came in the personification of Varahadev. So then all of them start talking about the Lord, and Lord confirms by roaring loudly that yes, he is the Supreme Lord. And then activities of Neelavaraha or Raktavara and in Chakshusa Manvantar, they're also combined with that. And then in the 34 to 45, there are beautiful prayers. How Lord Varahadev is a personification of Yajna, that is being described. And then his form is being described. His activities are being described. And how he's looking beautiful by holding the earth on a tusk, that is being described. How earth has become beautiful, that is being described. Then the request to place back the earth in its place has been made. And again, the glories of the Lord and the glorious pastime of the Lord are glorified. And finally, Lord returns back after putting the earth in its orbit. And then the Falashruti is there. The Lord becomes very pleased with one who hears, narrates this pastime. So purpose of our mission is to hear Krishna Katha and make arrangement for others to hear Krishna Katha. Because this is Katha Amritam. In this world of birth and death, Martya Loka, the only Amritam is Katha Amritam, Nama Amritam, Leela Amritam. Other things are already dead. So the Katha Amritam is the actual nectar. So one should relish oneself and share with others. And then further glorification there. What is difficult for such a person who pleases the Lord? And anyone who refuses to hear Hari Katha is actually equivalent to an animal only. So this is how the chapter concludes. And in today's chapter, pregnancy of Diti in the evening, this title. So it indicates an inauspicious time for such an act. The pregnancy of Diti is an inauspicious act. It happens at an inauspicious time. So Vidura, having heard that Lord killed Hiranyaksha in the course of establishing Bhumi Devi back in its orbit, he became curious and again he inquires. So again there are one verse is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami about eagerness of Vidura, and 3 verses are spoken by Vidura himself expressing his eagerness to hear. And then Maitreya begins by explaining to Vidura, and first in 3 verses he congratulates Vidura and he tells from where he has heard the Katha. And then 8 to 15 is the section about how Diti approaches Kashyap for union at a wrong time. 10 to 15, there are 6 reasons which Diti gives for union to Kashyap Muni. And 16 to 29, there is a long section about Kashyap Muni responding to Diti's request. So in half of the section, till 22, almost 7 verses. So in 7 verses, he glorifies Grahastha Ashram. He glorifies the position of his wife. And in the next 7 verses, he talks about the position of Lord Shiva and his glories and how this time is not auspicious for the union. So in 16 to 29, almost 14 verses, Kashyap Muni speaks. And then 30 to 36, the union happens and then Diti repents for that after the union, and Diti repents after repentance. Kashyap Muni gives the prediction of what will happen now because of this inauspicious act from 37 to 43, 6 verses that. And Diti requests that let my children not be killed by Brahma Shrap. And then again Kashyap Muni speaks about Prahlad Maharaj, how Prahlad Maharaj will also be born as a matter of repentance of Diti as her grandson, and he will be all glorious and he will be glorified throughout the universe. And finally, Diti becomes satisfied by hearing about the grandson being a great devotee, and also hearing that her sons will be killed by the Lord. They will not be killed by the Brahma Shrap. So this is how this chapter flows, and interesting chapter with many important statements from Srila Prabhupada's purports. So let's see how we go about this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Today we are from the folio only, we'll read directly. I'm a little in a hurry mode because there are targets to complete 1 chapter a day. Till 3rd chapter, the verses are more. I mean, tomorrow. 4th and 5th chapter have comparatively lesser verses, and there may be more time for discussion. So, any question you may have, you can ask even now also, but you can more preserve it for the last 2 days. Hopefully, you'll get a little more time. Because if you don't cover the chapter, then again, revising the whole thing also takes considerable time. So, now also we have spent 25 minutes before we have actually started the section. Shri Shukha Vacha Nishamya Kausarvinopavanitam Hare Katham Karan Sukaratmanah Punarsapaprikshatam Udayantanjale Nachatarpit Nachatirapto Vidurodritavratah. माइक लेके एक एक पढ़ो 5 वर्सेस पढ़ो then online it also later.
Goswami said, after hearing from the great sage Maitreya about the Lord's incarnation as Varaha, Vidura, who had taken a vow, begged him with folded hands to please narrate further transcendental activities of the Lord, since he did not yet feel satisfied.
So again, as we were discussing yesterday, the process of hearing is process of submissive oral reception. It is a process of begging from the spiritual master to give one's transcendental knowledge. So while you are there in the sannyas ceremony of His Holiness Bhakti, Padma, Saurabh, Pracharak, Swami Maharaj, some of you might also be there. So actually the whole process is that the disciple goes and begs Guru that I want to become completely detached from the material world and completely dedicate my life in service to the Lord. So please award me sannyas. Sannyas acceptance ceremony. he begs for it. And then the spiritual master blesses him. So similarly, to hear Katha, that is a kind of begging that please tell me about Krishna and his devotees and the pastimes. And that mood and that eagerness only make the message enlighten our heart and remove the darkness from our heart. Otherwise, we wonder that we have been hearing for so long, and hearing is so much glorified within Bhagavatam itself, you know. But why the process is not working so effectively? Because, we may not be following the process very rigidly as it is being described here. It's a process of hearing. When Sanatana Goswami goes to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he begs, Ke ami, kene ami, jata tapatraya. That who am I? Why am I suffering threefold miseries? Please tell me, please enlighten me. So wherever there is Krishna Katha, the listener is in the right mood. And he begs actually. But in our system, because we have already constituted hearing as a part of our daily schedule, so we may just take it as a part of routine. And we might not get into the right consciousness which is required to take the actual benefit of that process. And that is the disadvantage of an institution. It's necessary because it gives a chance to so many, but it has a disadvantage that even those who may not want, they also get a chance. So one may not be in right consciousness, but then still you get to serve the deities, you get to, hear the Krishna Katha. It increases Sukriti. Previously there was no such arrangement. So only those who were really seekers, they will be going around and begging and traveling far distance to just hear for some time and, get benefited by that. So that eagerness was there. So one should know that although um, institution provides us a facility to practice bhakti, bhakti is nevertheless not institutional. It is individual, it is inspirational. So within institution, we have to have our own right attitude to actually access mercy of these processes. So here he says that papracha tam udyat anjali, with folded hands, he begged him that please continue to narrate about Shukara Atmana Punha, again narrate about the boar incarnation. Nacha ati traptaha, he was not very much satisfied. He was not that like we are. I mean, even I am in that category. 9, 10, and after that, any question, anything becomes like, why that is there. Because we know Mahaprasad will get over by the time we go. If we don't reach by 9:15, then you will only get to see some particles of Mahaprasad in the plate. Maybe you will get some pudis and chutney also, but the main item get over. so Ati Triptaha, but Vidura was not satisfied. Parikshit Maharaj was not satisfied. 7 days, 7 nights he was hearing without worrying about eating or sleeping. Dharta Vrata, he had taken a vow. He has taken a vow, he left the palace. He kept the bow and a quiver on the doorstep and he came. And that vow was to take association of the saintly people in the holy places. So he has taken a vow of hearing about the Lord from the saintly people. Dhartavrata. Vidura uvacha Tenev tu muni sreshta harina yagya murtina adidetyo hiranyaksho hata iti anushrama.
Sri Udara said, O chief amongst the great sages, I have heard by disciplic succession that Hiranyaksha, the original demon, was slain by the same form of sacrifices the personality of God had, Lord bore.
So he also heard. It's likely that he might have heard the whole katha, but he's just hearing that, oh, I heard he was killed. So please narrate about that. So Prabhupada writes from Acharya's commentary that there are two Varaha avatars, one in Swayambhu Manvantar and one in Chakshusa Manvantar. In Swayambhu Manvantar he was white, Sweta Varaha. In Chakshusa Manvantar he was red. And Vidura heard about one of them in the last section. Now he wants to hear about Rakta Varaha. In Chakshusa Manvantar, when he killed the Adi demon, like we have Adi Bhagwan, the primeval Lord. Similarly, what he says about that? He says, Adi Daityo, beginning, Adi Daityo. Hiranyaksha is the beginning, he was there. So please tell about that. Adiditya. Together, huh? Tasya chodharata kshanim swadhamsragrena leelaya datyarajasya cha brahma kasma detor abhunmritaha.
What was the reason, O Brahmana, for the fight between the demon king and Lord Boar while the Lord was lifting the earth as his pastime?
So the fight happened, there must be some reason. So he's asking for the reason. What was that fight? Shraddhadhamya bhaktaya bruhi tajjanma vistaram rishena tapyati manaha param kautu halam hime.
My mind has become very inquisitive, and therefore I am not satiated by hearing the narration of the Lord's appearance. Please, therefore, speak more and more to a devotee who is faithful.
So this narration about Shraddhadhana and somebody who is Anusuyate, non-envious, that often comes in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita also. Because if one is not faithful, rather one is envious, then one actually cannot access the message of the Lord in the right spirit. Krishna also tells about his glories to Arjuna. Why he can understand? Because you are Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti, you're my friend and you're my devotee, you're not envious. And in the 7th chapter, first verse, 9th chapter, first verse in Bhagavad Gita, it talks about Anusuyave, because you're non-envious, that's why you can understand. And Bhagavatam also, in the beginning only says, what is the second verse? Nirmat Parana Nirmat Saranam Satam. Because you're Nirmat Sara. Because there's envy, there's no appreciation, no adoration, no adara. Kintu adarat khaludinam. Kintu adarat anudinam khalu seva. Just stop. If that adara is not there, then a person cannot understand the message. So one should have faith that Lord is there and His glories are there. With that faith one should hear. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. One who hears them, properly understands them. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. Mameti Arjuna. So this hearing is the hearing with a quality, with faith and without envy. So that is why he's saying, my mind has become inquisitive, I'm not satiated. Please speak more. One who is actually faithful, Shraddhava, and one who is inquisitive, Jigyasu, is actually qualified to hear the transcendental appearance of the pastime of the appearance and disappearance of the Lord. Vidura was a suitable candidate to do that. Now Maitreya Muni will congratulate him and will start speaking. Together. Maitreya Uvacha Sadhu Virataya Prishtam Avatara Katham Hare Yattam Prakshasya Martyanam Mrityupasha Vishatanim.
The great sage Maitreya said, O warrior, the inquiry made by you is just befitting a devotee because it concerns the incarnation of the personality of Godhead. He is the source of liberation from the chain of birth and death for all those who are otherwise destined to die.
Same thing which is there. Janma karma chame divyam evam yuveti tattvada tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. Same thing is being said here. That he's calling him a warrior. No, he's not fighting, but he's calling him a warrior because he have made the right query about the incarnation of the Lord. The great sage Maitreya is Vidura as a warrior, not only because Vidura belonged to the Kuru family, but because he was anxious to hear about the chivalrous activities of the Lord in his incarnation of Vara and Narasimha. So in these two incarnations, Lord has fought with Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So he was a warrior, but it was not that he wanted to fight himself. More than fighting, he wanted to hear the Katha of Lord's fighting. Hanumanji is such a great warrior, but still what does he do? It doesn't do that dumbbell practice. Many times in the gym they put Hanumanji's picture actually, and they keep on doing the gymnastic exercises, thinking that Hanumanji spends a lot of time making the body. You see, but actually, if you see in the Kim Purusha Varsha, which is there one of the 9 Varshas in the Jambudvip, you read in the 5th chapter, 5th canto. So in the Kim Purusha Loka, Hanumanji, along with the chief administrator there, Arishtasen, They both are glorifying Lord Ram. And there are deities of Lord Ram, Lakshman, Sita, which Hanumanji is constantly worshipping and glorifying the Lord by singing Ramayana. And when our Lord appears on the any part of the Goloka, then Lord Hanumanji personally goes there to assist him in his mission. Otherwise, he's worshipping the form of the Lord and singing the glories of the Lord. There's no mention that he spent 2 hours making bodies, in gym. So he's a warrior, he's such a great hero, but his prime service is to worship the Lord and glorify the Lord. So similarly, Vidura is a warrior because he is anxious to hear about the chivalrous activities of the Lord as Varaha and Narasimha. A devotee has no taste for hearing anything mundane. There are many topics of warfare, but a devotee is not inclined to hear them. The topics of warfare in which the Lord engaged do not concern the war of death, but the war against the chain of Maya, which oblige one to accept repeated birth and death. So this is the difference. When we hear about Lord's fight with Ravana or Varaha's fight with Hiranyaksha or Narasimhadev's fight with Hiranyakashipu, then actually one comes out of the bodily concept, one develops affection for the Lord and goes out of the cycle of birth and death. On the other hand, if one hears about the Iran and America war, Israel and Palestine war, the fights in Bangladesh, India and Pakistan border war, then one's bodily consciousness becomes very strongly reinforced. One becomes surrounded by fear. What if this happens? What if the bomb explodes right on the top? Now drones are carrying the bomb. How far the drone can go? Can it come from the border to Pune also or not? So many kind of queries can come. How many missiles Pakistan has? How many missiles India has? Because nowadays with internet, you click on one and there's a dozen things. They can read your mind and they just present it one after another. After Ahmedabad plane crash, I was not even knowing, somebody mentioned. So I was just seeing what happened. And it's almost like 55 videos already uploaded within like few hours of the plane crash. And next day there were another 100 videos. I counted, I didn't see all of them. And everyone is saying, let us analyze how the plane crashed. Nobody's bothered about, that we are also going to die, whether the plane crash or whatever way. But they are very eager to analyze the plane crash, whether the wheel did not go inside, whether the bird strike, whether the engine failed. So much happens in that. So such thing, they reinforce bodily consciousness, they reinforce fear in the heart, and they do not allow us to absorb our mind and consciousness in the spiritual subject matter. So for the sake of knowing something, we can just know it, but we should know it from a Shastric perspective, that this is a place of birth and death. I mean, in a true sense, this entire material world, the whole variety is there, but the variety is only Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, that's all. Hospital is there, multi-speciality hospital is there, but ultimately it is all the variety of being diseased. There are many kind of cure, allopathic, Ayurvedic, this, that. But the whole variety is underlined by Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi only. And another variety is for eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Other than these 8 things, there is no other reality of the material world. Everything is advertised for eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Different kind of hotels, different kind of menus, different kind of, comfortable sleeping thing, different kind of arrangement for sex life, and defending. And Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, that's all. Every news of the material world can be categorized in one of these 8 things. There's nothing beyond that. But it just takes a new shape. Nothing like that ever happened earlier. No plane crash like that it crashed and within 8 seconds it landed on the top of a, medical college mess. Never happened. But this is Maya. Maya's variety is also endless. There's no end to Maya's variety because it is just Krishna's energy, Mama Maya. So just like Krishna is endlessly variegated, and that endless variety increases the pleasure of his devotees, affection for him, service to him, Maya's variety is also endless. There's no end to it. Life will end, lives will end, the entire material world will end, but Maya's variety will never end. Every time everything will happen in a new way. The doctors keep on studying, every case is unique in itself. Every person is going for health checkup every 6 months, full body checkup. And still is detected with cancer at the 4th stage. And doctors are studying, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? Full body checkup के बाद भी 4th stage पे cancer कैसे आ सकता है? So they keep on studying. But these are the laws which function. Birth, old age, disease, Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, and Aha, Nidra, Bhayam, that is nothing else in the material world other than these 8 things. Everything, whatever, uh, social media, internet, newspaper, whatever may be there, nothing is beyond that. And the irony is, nothing is in the hands of individual jivas. The jiva is just a spectator and just waste his time in just watching the things. He can't stop things. Can't stop anything. So that is why the purpose of human life is very clearly talked about in the scripture. I want you to take it very, very seriously. So hearing about such broad topics agitate the mind, disturb the mind. But hearing about the war topic of the Lord, that purifies the mind. Srila Prabhupada was there in 1971. 1970 August, he came to India from Los Angeles, where he prayed to Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish. I have come here. I left India to come here and preach. Los Angeles was the world headquarters for the entire US and Canada at that time. And now you are sending me back. I don't know what purpose you have. Prabhupada prayed to Rukmini Dwarkadish like that. Prabhupada came anyway. He came, he stayed in Akash Ganga apartment in Mumbai, and he asked for a Sankirtan team, world Sankirtan team. He asked them to come, and that's how the 6 members, 3 families from London, they came. Giriraj Maharaj, many others came. Every temple was told to send one best man, second best man. One was the president who is managing, second best was told to be sent. So that's how Giriraj Maharaj was sent by Saswarup Das Goswami Maharaj from Boston. And many others were sent. 25 people were sent, and then they started traveling. They went to Surat for the famous Harinam Sankirtans. Then they went to Amritsar. Then they went to Indore. Then they went to this near Nagpur, that place is Wardha. Then they went to Kumbh Mela. 1971 there was Kumbh Mela. And it is in 1971 that Srila Prabhupada established the foundation for 3 temples. Mayapur, he got the land. Vrindavan, he got the land. Juhu, he got the land. Kolkata, he got the temple. And 71, in the Indian history, post-independence, 1971 is the most disturbed year of the century, apart from independence time, after independence. Prabhupada doesn't talk a word about it. You will not find the Prabhupada talking what will happen. Emergency was being applied, right? Only time when emergency has been applied. So many forceful things were done. And war was going on. The Bangladesh Liberation War was going on. So much was happening. The biggest war India has fought, 1971, East Pakistan. Prabhupada doesn't bother. He was in Mayapur putting the foundation. He was in Vrindavan, which is next to Delhi, putting the foundation. He was in Mumbai, which is the industrial capital of India, putting foundation for a temple. Prabhupada was aware, but he didn't bother about it because it's not so much in the hands of a local person. May be aware for the sake of deciding how to best practice and preach Krishna consciousness. We can be aware of that. But other than that, nothing much can be done. We are not like Hindu organizations, or we are not like social workers who are jhanda utao, hamari mange pura karo isko. We follow our superiors. If they tell us to do something, we do. Otherwise, we understand that they are taking care and they are collaborating with the government officials to do what best can be done. When Bangladesh thing happened, I was in GAV, and so many other organizations were talking about this brahmachari who is still in jail in Bangladesh. You know, Chinmay Krishna is still there. And so many organizations, तुम्हारा साधु को पकड़ लिया, हम तुम्हारे साथ हैं. So I went to Gaurangpur, Sanasmarpur there. Because क्या करना है? क्या करना है? हम लोग कर रहे. The Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Jai Singh something, Jaiswal or something. जय शिवशंकर, या जय शंकर. डायरेक्ट हम लोग फोन पे टच में उसके, हमको पता है क्या करना है. इन लोगों का ना तो कोई वहां ब्रह्मचारी है, ना इनका ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का कोई ब्रांच है वहां पे. तो इन लोगों को तो इधर हंगामा करके सोशल मीडिया पे व्यूज बढ़ाना है, और कुछ तो इनको काम नहीं है. So we are dealing with directly with the Ministry of External Affairs, and they're telling us not to do anything which will unnecessarily create agitation, communal agitation. So we are like that. At an ordinary level, one doesn't have to really bother too much about these things. This is a place, it's a material world, these things will keep on happening. One should focus on practicing Krishna consciousness, and we will not die before we are destined to die. Whether the war happens or corona comes, believe me, be assured. Jatasya dhruva mrityu. There are 2 things in that. One thing is death is destined, but the glory of destined death is it will not come before it is destined. Jatasya hi dhruva mrityur. This time, na? Fixed. So that's the advantage of it. Now it's fixed. It will not happen by any other external change. So that should be the confidence. We will not die. Whether corona comes, war happens, anything can come and go. Life continues. We have people who got during the division independence, they went to Pakistan and they were there on the train, they came, so much thing. And they came back to India, they lived for 80 years, 90 years, many of them. Some died in that, coming and all. So everybody is destined to die at a certain point of time. That nobody can change. No amount of scientific advancement, no amount of medical care can protect one. That is why one should be fearless about it. आएगा तब आएगा, वहाँ नहीं है तो आएगा. It is not that we have to commit suicide knowing that, but we should just do our duty and focus on the main goal of human form of life, not get distracted by that. So Prabhupada talks about the Kurukshetra war, that how Kurukshetra war was so auspicious that everyone present there, they attain their original spiritual existence after death. Thus, hearing the topics of the Lord is as good as any other devotional service. Yayuttanapad putro munina gita yarvaka mrityokritte murdhanyangrim aruroha hare padam.
By hearing these topics from the sage Narada, the son of King Uttanapadruva was enlightened regarding the personality of Godhead, and he ascended to the abode of the Lord, placing his feet over the head of death.
So we know that how Narad Muni instructed Dhruv Maharaj. He heard from Narad Muni and then he performed devotional service. And when the Vaikuntha Viman came, so he paid his obeisance to all the sages, performed his, daily purification duties. And then while he was going, he saw the death personified coming. And there was some gap between where he was and the plane. So he put a step on the head of the death and boarded the plane like that. So this is the fate of somebody who is attached to hearing about the Lord. Such is the power of hearing. Just nothing. Just hear. Hearing the greatest service. But as we were discussing that due to being in passion and ignorance, we can't just hear. We need to act also. Plus, because we are in a missionary movement, so we want to also create opportunity for hearing for others. But we should make a balance by which we hear sufficiently and then we serve sufficiently. It should not be one at the expense of others. Then it will not work well. So Srila Prabhupada ordered all of us work now, samadhi later. So even if we have the capacity to hear all the time, still we should serve because the mission requires service, the movement requires service. And that service is part of application of hearing. Shravanam, Mananam, Nitidhyasanam. So we heard that hearing is so wonderful. Then Nitidhyasanam, we apply that by creating opportunity for hearing further. That is preaching. To hear ourselves is sadhana, and to make others hear is preaching. Hearing of the holy name is japa. Hearing of Bhagavatam is Bhagavashravan. And hearing from the devotees is sadhu sangha. So that is how hearing is the foundation of the entire process. So Prabhupada says that because Dhruva was due to quit this world, death was awaiting for him. He did not care for death, however, and even with his present body, boarded the spiritual plane and went directly to the planet of Vishnu because of association with the great sage Narada, who had spoken to him the narration of the pastime of the Lord. Not much is instructed. He spoke very few verses, which will come in the next chapter. Narada did not give a very elaborate lecture. There was no Bhakti Vaibhav course. It was just half an hour talk or so in Madhuban. And after that, Dhruva practiced that. Sometimes we want that if we get an ongoing guidance from the spiritual master, we get access, that will be so nice. If it is can be, it's wonderful. But you'll find in the Vedic literatures, when the student has to be trained in the Varnashram Dharma, that time the association was longer, there was training. But when it comes to Bhagavad Dharma, one-time interaction also with the disciple. If the disciple is submissive and faithful and loyal, and the Guru is potent, one interaction also will, make the disciple perfect. You're getting? There are two things. If you have to learn Varnashram Dharma, Vedic Dharma, then you need an ongoing Gurukul for training. But when it comes to Bhagavad Dharma, in one interaction, if the disciple is really submissive, faithful, and eager, one interaction also can lead him to perfection. Example? Examples? So many. Dhruv Maharaj, one time. Bragari, one time. Huh? Valmiki Muni also heard one time. Prahlad Maharaj also, he heard that time repeatedly. Later on, there was no association. So, this thing, what we called, oh, Vedic time, Gurukul was there. Gurukul was to teach Varnashram Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma also could be taught, but Bhagavad Dharma doesn't necessarily need that one has to be all the time there. If it is there, it's wonderful because Guru can train one in Bhagavad Dharma also. But if it's not there, there's no loss either. If one carries the instruction of the spiritual master in his heart, follows them, applies them, then there is no problem with that also. Okay, next verse. Athatrapiත soyam Shatomi Varnita Pura Brahmanam Devanam Anuprachatam.
The history of the fight between the Lord as a bull and the demon Hiryaksh was heard by me in a year long ago, as it was described by the foremost of the demigods Brahma when he was questioned by the other demigods.
Yeah. So Maitri Muni is saying, whether I had heard from somewhere that Lord killed Hiranyaksha. Maitri Muni is saying that I also heard it long back. In a year, 1 year it took, what we are going to read in one session. See, no, in few sessions, because few sessions are there. And Brahmaji was questioned by the demigod, and that's where Maitreya Muni heard. So now the section starts about Diti and Kashyapa. In several verses, Diti is approaching Kashyap Muni and giving reasons for why he should unite with her for giving her children. So let's go by the translation just to, we'll spend some time in some of the very important purport lines Prabhupada written.
Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted by sex desire, begged her husband Kashyap, the son of Marichi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child.
So he summarized it, but then details are given further.
The sun was setting, and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, whose tongue is the sacrificial fire.
Prabhupada says fire was considered to be the tongue of the person who got it. And clarified butter offered to the fire, thus accepted by him. But later on, he will say in the next chapter, next to next, when he will talk with the four Kumaras, that I'm not so much satisfied when the ahuti is offered in the Yajna Kund as much as when Brahmanas are being fed by the first class, organic
Ghee.
A2 desi cow ghee and organic grains and fresh vegetables, not the frozen ones. You see, we want taste, but we don't want to pay the price for that. Now, the frozen mutter is such a dangerous thing. It doesn't get digested easily. There is a season in which mutter comes. Lord has packaged it in a way that you can unpack it and use it. But human brain is such that it wants to change the laws of the nature. Humans want to enjoy what is not given to them in that quota at that time. Tena tektena punjita. Magrit kashyashvata. नहीं, एप्पल भी चाहिए, मैंगो भी चाहिए, ग्रेप भी चाहिए, रखो फिर कोल्ड स्टोरेज में. कोल्ड स्टोरेज में रखे वो मर जाता है. Because things have life, no? It actually dies. It just gets frozen. Frozen thing means death. But then still people do that because they want to go against the laws of nature. Every season there are some seasonal things. No? Take them. One of the instructions in deity worship is that Lord should be offered seasonal fruits. That's that instruction. Rupa Goswami knew that in Kali Yuga people will keep all the storage things, the stored things. So he said one of the instructions is to offer the Lord seasonal fruits and flowers. So Lord says, when Brahmanas are fed, I'm more happy than when, grains are offered in the fire. But that is also a bona fide way of offering things. So Kashyap Muni was performing the yajna And he offered oblation and he was meditating. Prabhupada will later say that it seems he was a devotee of Lord Shiva. He was not yet a Vaishnava, Kashyap Muni also. He will come later. Now, Mother Diti is saying, okay, let's see.
In that place, the beautiful Diti expressed her desire. O learned one, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly, as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree.
When the Cupid takes the arrows and shoots, he is also called Madan, not transcendental Madan. He's Madan. Madan means one who makes one mad. Mad and mad and. In English also mad and. Mad and one who makes one mad. Uh, it's difficult to describe unless one experiences that. But even as brahmacharis in our teenage time, if you remember when we were not practicing, it's a kind of madness. It's a kind of feeling which just totally occupies the mind and the heart, and a person loses all capacity to think of anything else. Even he loses the capacity to think of the consequences of what will happen further. And that is how in such madness people go to prostitutes, people rape the women, and so many things happen. So many cases keep on coming. And not one way, it's two way. The women also. Till the time women are sober, they're okay. But when they become maddened by sex desire, then they are more ferocious than man also. It will come in the section of same. It will come in the section of Kartamuni and Devhuti. Kartamuni has to divide himself into 9 parts to satisfy Devhuti. So till the time Devhuti is performing austerity and she is peaceful, all good. But when she gets afflicted by sex desire, then Prabhupada says that goes to show that women are 9 times more lusty than men. Only thing is they can control their lust. Men can control this lust once they become agitated. So this is a very, very powerful force of material nature and not easy. And here in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, we find it time and again. Why? It is giving us warning. Till the time we are attracted by mundane lust, we cannot taste nectar of Krishna's affection, Krishna's prem. These two things cannot go together. Atmendriya priti vancha tare bole kam, Krishnendriya priti vancha dhare prem now. So one has to deal with lust in a way that one can awaken prema. And that is why Rachel has explained that lust is nothing but is a perverted form of prema only. Adiras is the desire to enjoy between Krishna and Radharani, pure desire. That's the desire to serve actually. It is called a kind of transcendental lust, but it is actually prema. But that adiras, when it gets perverted here, it becomes lust. So only permanent solution, only tangible solution to eradicate lust is to hear about the pastime of Krishna with gopis. You imagine? Not for everyone, not at every stage. But this is certified by Sukadeva Goswami himself. Vikridatam vrajavadhum idam cha Vishnu. That verse says that if somebody hears from the right source with the right attitude, then by becoming attracted to Radha and Krishna, then one will forget about his own lust. And of course, before that, there are many solutions to not look at women, to consider them as a snake, address them as mother. They're all there in their position. They all are useful. But eventually, to transcend lust is possible only when one awakens prema. There's no other solution. There's no in between. Gradually, by the means of serving the devotees, serving the Lord, chanting the holy name, we are gradually increasing our prema for the Lord, affection for the Lord, and that proportion only, that attraction from the opposite sex will come down. It is not some mechanical process by performing austerities, by attaining jnana. That is why the examples of jnanis, karmis, and yogis are given in Bhagavatam, that they fail to conquer lust. Right? They failed to conquer. Yayati Maharaj, such a great king, he failed. Purura Maharaj, he performed yajnas and all, he failed. Vishwamitra Muni was a jnani, he failed. Swabari Muni was a yogi, he failed. The examples are given. That even such great people through karma, jnana, and yoga is not possible. Only through bhakti it is possible. Haridas Thakur was proposed by Maya Devi and a prostitute, but he could conquer it. Prabhupada will quote that example later. So similarly, while ensuring that we do not get grossly into these lust-related activities, one has to very carefully cultivate one's affection for the Lord so that one can rise above the lust. Otherwise, it's not possible to conquer lust. So here, Diti is saying that Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly. Unless I improve it, I'm in a certain flow. I will forget things otherwise. Huh? As a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. So, when a mad elephant, banana tree has no power to resist. You know, if a mad elephant even goes to banyan tree, it has some power. Banyan tree may not, pargat tree, elephant may not be able to uproot it. Banana tree, even a child can uproot it. Banana tree doesn't have very deep roots. It's very tender. It's very, even a small wind can uproot it. So it's not very strong. So that's why it says that I am distressed. Now here Prabhupada says, beautiful Diti. It says beautiful Diti. Diti Uvacha. Diti Uvacha. Now Diti Uvacha says, but Prabhupada adds the word beautiful. Because you see, when acharyas give purports and translation, they are actually experiencing that scene. They are experiencing that mood, and they know the mentality of the characters, what's going on. They are not just academically doing this thing. It's not academic. Prabhupada's translation purports are not just academic in nature. They are emotional in nature. So that's why I said beautiful Diti said. The Diti Vaja said, it's not said, Sri Diti Ruvaja or something like that. But he says, she began to speak loudly. Shashankar Thakur says she began to speak because there was no way to distract him. No? He was meditating, he was in trance, he was not with the eyes half closed, he was in trance meditating on Brahman. So she speak loudly, and she frankly said that her whole body was disturbed by sex desire because of her husband's presence, just as a banana tree is troubled by mad elephant. It was not natural for her to agitate her husband when he was in trance, but she could not control her strong sexual appetite, which was like a mad elephant. And therefore, it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection by fulfilling her desire. Next verse. Pardon?
Therefore, you should be kind towards me by showing me complete mercy. I desire to have sons, and I am much distressed by seeing the opulence of my co-wives. By performing this act, you will become happy.
So first reason she gave is that I'm totally afflicted by sex desire. And now she says that you should be kind, you should not neglect, because there was a chance that he was in meditation and he may not be in a good mood. He says, he may neglect. So she says, no, you can't neglect me, you should be kind to me by showing me complete mercy. And third thing, he says, I don't want to have sons because I am distressed by seeing the opulence of my co-wives. And then further she says, this will make you happy because you will have also sons through me. So this co-wives, the competition for son is always there. Any other instance you can remember where similar competition there about sons and the co-wives? At least two instances. Chitraketu Maharaj. Pratudati got a son, Harshashoka, and all other ways became envious. Because in the Vedic time, the Bharya, one will accept Bharya, one will accept a wife only for having sons. She was Janani, she would produce sons. Because that son is the opulence. Nowadays, there is only people talk about Dhana Lakshmi, but actually there are 8 kinds of Lakshmi. Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi, Gaja Lakshmi, Santan Lakshmi. 8 kinds of opulences are there. One may have one may not have another one. But now Dhana Lakshmi is all in all. One says opulence by money. But actually, earlier people used to have children and they will work hard to educate the children. Now 8 children will become 8 big officers and great opulence comes. Dhanya Lakshmi, one will have field, lot of grains will come. Gaja Lakshmi, come. Vidya Lakshmi is there. Somebody may be very educated. But Kali Yuga things become very hollow, become very superficial. They don't go into the entirety of the things. So 8 kinds of Lakshmis are there. So Santan Lakshmi is one of them. We said that I am envious of the opulence of my co-wife. They have Santan Lakshmi, I don't have. Another example. When Kunti got children, and Gandhari was still pregnant. So she became so envious, she struck the womb with the hand that Kunti had now. Her children will become elder to my children. So she struck, and then the lump of flesh came. And that was the first test tube baby created in those times. So then the rishis came. I don't know who was there, Vidura or Vedvyas. Vedvyas came. Vyas there. And he cut that into 100 pieces. He keep them in each of the pots. The tubes were not there. So they were not test tube, they were test pot babies. Test pot babies. And they were 100 sons were born like that. So among co-wives, the wealth of children is being envied. So Prabhupada says, a person sexually inclined for simple sense gratification, however, is unrighteous. Indeed, is appealed to her husband for sex. It was not exactly that she was afflicted for sex desire, but she desired sons. Since she had no sons, she felt poorer. She was feeling poorer because the opulence of sons was not there. Therefore, Kashyap was supposed to satisfy his bona fide wife. That's his duty. It's the duty of the father or duty of the husband to give sons to the wife. Because then the wife becomes pacified. She get engaged to take care of the child. Otherwise, she keeps on troubling the husband. That next verse.
Honored in this world by the benediction of her husband, and a husband like you will become famous by having children, because you are meant for the expansion of living entities.
So she said, you are Prajapati, and you are supposed to have children. And woman is honored by the benediction of her husband, then you will become famous. And Prabhupada quote Rishabdev, that one should not become a father or mother. Janani na shashyat, pita na shashyat, guru na shashyat, na sojano na shashyat. Unless one is confident that he can beget children whom he can deliver from the clutches of birth and death. Human life is the only opportunity to get out of the material scene. It's full of miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. So Kashyap is supposed to beget good children for the purpose of liberation. Now she is reminding that how she had chosen Kashyapa as her husband. Yeah.
In days long ago, our father, the most opulent Daksha, who was affectionate to his daughters, asked each of us separately whom we would prefer to select as our husband.
So Prabhupada writes that free selection was allowed, not free association. Free selection was allowed, not by free association. This is an interesting thing. And daughters were asked to submit their selection of a husband. Sometimes Swayamvar was performed where the great kings were called and a condition was kept. Like Arjuna or Gandhari has to look below and shoot the arrow in the eye of the toy fish there. Very tough thing. Many kind of thing. Nagnijiti was there, Krishna's wife. What was the condition? Subdue the 7 bulls, and those 7 bulls were so ferocious. Bulls are very ferocious. In village, every now and then, sometimes the bulls kills a person. Their thorns are very sharp and they will throw a person. Very powerful. Then at another place, one of the queen is telling that Krishna also won me in Swayamvar. But in my Swayamvar, the condition was that there was only one in Draupadi's Swayamvar. Below was the mirror of oil, and top you can shoot. But here, only one hole through which you have to shoot. The fish will come in that circle only in one hole. Just look below and then shoot. It was tough then. It said that Arjuna was also there. He tried, he failed. Krishna succeeded. so like that. So Swayamvar was allowed, but free mixing was not allowed. Free association was not there. So Diti is reminding Kashyapa that actually we have chosen you by our choice because we already had affection for you even as girls. Right? So we chose you because Daksha asked. He has 16 daughters and 13 of them were given to Kashyapa. And Sati was given to Lord Shiva. And 1 or 2 more, I don't know. Given. Yeah.
Our well-wishing father Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed our 13 of his daughters unto you. And since then, we have all been faithful.
Yeah, the purpose is that daughters will be too shy to express their opinion before their father. But through grandmother, or some elderly person, the father will know whom the daughter want to get married, and if the person is qualified, there no restriction. If the person is not qualified, then the father will make the final decision about that. So Daksha collected the opinions and thus handed over 13 to Kashyapa. All of us had children. Diti was equally faithful to the same husband. Why should she remain without children?
O lotus-eyed one, kindly bless me by fulfilling my desire. When someone in distress approaches a great person, his plea should never go in vain.
Yeah. So Diti was fearing that her request might get rejected because the situation is not right, the time is not right. But she was so much afflicted by lust at that time. So she says an extra thing. The pleas of someone in distress who approaches a great person should never go in vain. So she pleaded that there is an emergency or a distressful condition, there is no consideration of time or situation. But it was not an emergency situation. That's the thing. She considered it as emergency situation from her perspective. So Diti like this approaches to Kashyap Muni and okay, there's one more verse.
O hero Vidura, Diti, being thus afflicted by the contamination of lust, and therefore poor and talkative, was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words.
So she was afflicted by the contamination of lust. Actually, lust is actually contaminating. She became poor, talkative. But Marichi is son of whom? Brahma, Marichi. Marichi's son. Kashyap is his son. The other sons also, Marichi's sons only, no, or somebody else's son. Who laughed at Brahmaji and they were cursed? Marichi only. Sons of Marichi only. Other sons, Kashyap was not among them. When a man or woman is afflicted by the lust of sex desire, it is to be understood as a sinful contamination. Kashyap was engaged in spiritual activities, but he did not have sufficient strength to refuse his wife, who was thus afflicted. He could have refused her with strong words, expressing impossibility, but he was not as spiritually strong as Vidura. Vidura is addressed here as a Veera, hero, because no one is stronger in self-control than a devotee of the Lord. Devotee of the Lord has self-control because he engages himself, his self in service of the Lord. His identity of the self is as a servant of the Lord. And that Rishikena Rishikesha. He doesn't say that these senses are mine. He says, my dear Lord, these senses are yours because I am yours. Manasa deho geho joke chumo. If I am yours, my senses are whose? Your senses. So whose responsibility is to control his property? The owner has the responsibility to control the property, na? So if I am yours, aham bhagavato aham sosmi, sada dasosmi sarvata, gopi bhartur padakam, your das, dasanudas. Aham harirta padeka moolam, dasanudaso bhavitasma bhuya. Mana smareta asupate gunasya grinita va karm karmati kaya. So if I am yours, my senses are also yours. So it's your duty to control my senses. I mean, my senses means senses I'm using because these are on rent. They belong to you. That is why a devotee can actually control oneself. Otherwise not. And even as practicing brahmacharis, devotees, we will be able to control our senses easier to the degree we consider ourselves as the property of our spiritual master. To the degree we meditate on fulfilling his desires and instruction. To that degree we will find it easier to manage the senses. And to the degree we have no such connection, no such strong desire to please, to that degree we will try to control mind and senses at an intellectual level, which is good, which is required, but it has its own limitations also. It is not long lasting. When we control the senses with the desire to please the spiritual master, then the sense control is very effective. That is why I say, Brahmachari Gurukule Vasan Danto Gururitam. Control the mind senses for Gururitam. Otherwise, it is not very effective, not very strong. And we can see, Shri Giriraj Maharaj writes in that book, you can read, I will build you a temple. That one time he came, Mr. Nair, he came and he said, oh, we have to go to court and all, go. So he said, sit behind. The car was there. driver was sitting behind, front somebody sitting, he says, sit. So naturally the person, from this side, he went inside and he saw that already there's a lady sitting there. And he has to sit in between. And this side, Mr. Nair is sitting. And he's just a brahmachari in his 20s. And the lady is touching his leg and moving her moving her hand on his legs. Can you imagine the agitation? And he had all opportunity. He said, but if I do something, what kind of bad name it will bring to Srila Prabhupada? So that thought restrained him. And later on also that prostitute could be seen in the temple many times trying to hunt him down, but he could remain strong because that he had the right purpose, right desire, but not easy. It appears that Kashyapa was already inclined to have sexual enjoyment with his wife, but because he was not a strong man, he tried to dissuade her only with pacified words. He could not strictly say no. In Samadam Danda Bhed, Sri Vishwanath Thakur says that lust has to be dealt only by Danda only. You try to persuade on all, it doesn't work. Danda only works, just strictness. And that is why we have such a strict policy of brahmacharis. No private talk, no personal talk with women. Because it's not that everything happens all at once. It starts somewhere and then it ends up in, kind of wrong thing, wrong act. It never happens all at once. Krishna gave all protection. But when he sees that the devotee is willingly, voluntarily, by his choice, taking a wrong direction, then Krishna chooses another path. Like you have seen, if you are supposed to take a turn on a road, so then you cross that turn. Then the GPS will tell you the next U-turn. You come back, there is the right turn. You come back and take this turn. It will keep on showing you. But if you go like a kilometer away, then what will GPS do? Then it will show you another path only. Now it will not bring you back on this path. For certain distance, it does that. But then otherwise, then you go 1 kilometer ahead, then it will show you another path or another route it will indicate. So similarly, Krishna protected devotees. In the beginning, he gives warning, he gives proper advice to devotees through scripture, through lectures. But if devotee, whatever, because of his weakness or crookedness, if he becomes firm, nahi mere ko karna hi hai, and instead of telling, giving warning, if he continues, the Lord doesn't leave him, but then take him another path. Then he has to go through another long route of purification. So Kashyapa was already inclined, and he only said some pacifying word. He was not strict. He did not say no means no, but he tried to pacify. He did his duty, but he could not successfully satisfy Diti, reject or Diti's desire at that time. So what time the break happens usually? Okay. Our Pandana Chanbu has a question because next section is beginning, so I will take it up in the next thing. Yes, Prabhuji.
Very Dandavat Pranam. Thank you. Thank you for wonderful explanations, Suji, and realize explanations. We
Not
just
not realize one, realize one, the real soul.
yes. Prabhuji just had that point that only Bhakti yogis can control the senses successfully. But sometimes we see even elevated devotees fall down and then do this thing. So how can we understand more clearly that only Bhakti yogis can sustain? Because other paths also, other way around, we see that there are yogis who don't fall down. But
Correct.
and we only say examples of those who fall down in other paths.
Yeah. That's a good question. His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Manas has given a talk on that. The title, A Grim Warning to All the Sadhus. Nice talk, around 22 minutes talk. You can hear that. We have put the link on NECC Brahmacharis. You might have got it. I heard it recently. Actually, one has to deal with the problem of lust till the time one is in the body. Prak Sharira Vimokshanam. Krishna also says in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that this problem has to be dealt with till the time one is in the body. And Maharaj quotes the example of Birbal and Akbar, how a person on the deathbed and still when that young lady comes, his head turns. So these impressions are there, very deep rooted. Now while practicing Bhakti Yoga, naturally a devotee gets higher taste. It is not that it doesn't get higher taste, how will he continue otherwise? So in that case, there are two things which can possibly happen. One thing is that even after practicing for many years, a devotee may become neglectful because this material world is a world of challenge. Anytime anybody can face problem. So a devotee, for whatever reason, may neglect certain regulations and principles. Like one of the principle is that a person renounced order, a brahmachari or a sannyasi should never be alone with a lady. And Maharaj quotes in that Srila Prabhupada was so old and his sister was so old. Sometimes we find that, ठीक है, elderly है, Mataji है, grandmother है. Prabhupada himself was old and his sister was so old. But still he calls, I think this is told by Shruti, what is the name? Shruti Kirti Prabhu only, yeah, in Mayapur. And he said, where are you going? Come here. What happened? Sit here. And then he sat and he started to talk. And Prabhupada, what was my... I was talking to my sister, you're supposed to be here. Second example he gives is that of Bhakti with Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj when Dr. OBL Kapoor's wife, she wanted to talk. Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, no, I can't talk. You talk in the presence of your husband. And, in glorification of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj also we heard from Sridham Prabhu. Sridham Prabhu is also Prabhupada disciple in Delhi. So he was telling that Maharaj called him at night 10 o'clock. Sridham, can you come to my room? He said, yes, Maharaj, I can come. So he came and some group has come with Mataji's. And then he left and he asked, Maharaj, what is my service? Maharaj said, this was your service, to be there with me when I was meeting. So sometimes, whatever may be the reason, we neglect some of the principles, but the principles are like the laws. One may be a new devotee or one may be a 100-year-old devotee. If you put your hand in fire, it will burn. That's the law. It doesn't change. So sometimes one may neglect the law and get trapped. Sometimes, one may pray for purification internally, and Lord may arrange such a system by which one is forced to accept a very humble position. Because it's very humbling, because otherwise people think, oh, brahmacharis are very great, and sannyasis are great. They are great in their own capacity of renunciation. But sometimes a person is not able to handle that load. He becomes too bothered because he's not there the way he's respected and the kind of position he's given, he's not there. He feels uncomfortable internally also. So Lord provides a reason by which he can experience a humble position and then make proper advancement, because humility is essential for advancement. It's not that we desire respect, but the order itself attracts respect. If you are brahmachari for 10, 15 years, then naturally congregation will start respecting. And sometimes it is that we don't want it, and it is not that we are neutral to it. We are averse to it. We just don't want it. So sometimes somebody may really take a position that, okay, I don't want it. And Krishna will arrange also in a way that it looks a logical thing that, okay, let go. But one should be careful that their bhakti remains intact. It may happen by accident or it may happen by Krishna's some inconceivable plan. But in either case, our duty is to maintain our respect for whatever service and bhakti they have done. But that does not get nullified by this, wrong act. It doesn't get nullified. Krishna punishes for this, but Krishna also takes into account the wonderful service done by him. So we should not become short-sighted or narrow-minded and say, "Ay, ye kiya, sab barbaad kar de." No, this was a mistake. Somebody drove the vehicle for 200 kilometers and then met with a minor accident. You cannot say that he never drove. He drove, not 200 kilometers, so gaadi leke aaya na. So till the time one is at the driving seat, accident can anytime happen. It can happen in the parking also. Many times I have seen that parking में लाइट फूट जाता है, वो दिखता नहीं है पिलर, और रिवर्स करके गाड़ी लगाने में फट से लाइट फूट जाता है. आदमी पूरा 500 किलोमीटर चला के वापस आ गया हाईवे उस पे, पार्किंग में लाइट फोड़ दी. You have seen that sometimes it's more difficult to do parking than driving at times. So till the time one is driving, there's always a risk. So till the time the soul is in the body, because this is conditioned body, there's always a risk, and one has to be very, very careful and attentive to follow the rules and regulations very properly, diligently, and one should have proper association in which one can be protected. So we may not know exactly what happened, but these are the principles which definitely exist. And we should be very careful that we should never think that we have now beyond the rules and regulation. Now I'm so big that I am beyond the rules. No. A Prabhupada is not beyond the rules. A Bhakti Saraswati Maharaj is not beyond the rules. Gopal Krishna Maharaj is not beyond the rule, then why should we think we have become beyond the rules? This is Mahajanvainagata Sapanta. Gemini Rishi's example is there, as they demonstrated it so graphically to show the power of lust. You know, no, that story. Some say that Gemini Rishi, when Vyasa turned himself into a beautiful lady, he said, you have to become a horse and you have to carry me uphill. I will ride on you and then I'll marry you on the top of the head. But a person becomes so mad out of lust, he became, like for children, parent become. And then he rode that beautiful lady on the top of him to the hill. And then he turned back. Now will you marry me? And then he turned back and he saw, oh, Vyasa with a flowing beard and all. He said, yes, I'll marry you now. So the examples are given of not ordinary personalities. The examples of extraordinary personalities are given in Bhagavatam to prove that lust is indeed the powerful emotion, most powerful emotion. And then in the 10th canto, the Ras Leela is being kept that this is the final antidote for that lust. 9th canto, so many pastimes will come. Yati Maharaj. Yati Maharaj is not an ordinary person. He was ruling over the whole world. Maharaj Pururva was not ordinary. He was ruling over the whole world. His glory reached heavens. That's how popular he was, Pururva. That's how Urvashi heard about him. But one get afflicted by lusty desire, then one becomes insane. Yeah, one becomes totally mad. That cannot be explained so well without experience. We better not experience it. We can learn from others' experience. Bhagavatam is there to tell us that experience, how mad one can become. For that, Purura was moving like crazy man, king of the whole world, emperor of the whole world, managing, ruling, like a madman for Urvashi. So lust is indeed a powerful Mahashano Mahapatma Vidhi in eva. So Krishna is not reserving any words for describing the power of lust. He's personally describing the power of lust. It's indeed very powerful. Prabhupada writes in the section of Ajamila that lust is very powerful. If Ajamila in Satyuga, being married, Ajamila was married, he had experience of sex life. He had a wife, he could have gone there and had sex also. But still, lust is so blind that Ajamila, in that age, just seeing one scene, got addicted and fell down from a position. So Prabhupada said, what is the, what he says? What is the possibility of these young boys taking to renounce order in a world where every place outside you see such half-naked women? Prabhupada says, there is no hope. But if one prays to Srila Haridas Thakur and one chants the holy name attentively, then one can be saved. These are the two things one said. Praying to Haridas Thakur and chanting the holy name properly. And of course, following the rules and regulations strictly. So that is the hope. We may not know why it happens. Definitely, accident can never happen to anyone, anytime. That's one thing. And also, sometimes there's an internal dynamics which goes on. I have associated closely with some of the people who have left this world. And I have often find that there's a lot of inner dynamics which happens in the lives of the people before they leave, if they are in good position. And Krishna reciprocates with that inner call. And Krishna makes some better arrangement for them elsewhere to continue their devotional service. So similarly, Krishna is all loving. For him, the dress and the position is not so important. For him, protecting a devotee is very important. Protecting the consciousness of a devotee is very important. And that is why sometimes it may be so arranged that some anartha which a devotee is not able to overcome in a particular situation. By changing the situation, he can overcome that. Because humility is a very powerful weapon. Very, very powerful weapon. So, okay.
Yes, Suruji. Actually, I wanted to understand in context that only bhakti yogi people can come out of sex, not the other path.
Yeah, so what happens? That by bhakti, one overcomes sexual desire because one laments for it later. Now here Diti will also lament, Kashyap will also lament. So even if they fall prey, immediately they get reinstated in their situation by repentance. They repent for that. On the other hand, the jnanis and yogis, even if they are successful in restraining sex desire, that is not considered very glorious because they have another sinful desire. The desire to become one with the Lord or to merge in the Brahmajyoti, Kavalyam, Narakayat, that is considered more sinful desire than sex life also, right? To become merged and become one with the Lord. So even if they conquer or they apparently consider sex desire, they are not gaining anything out of it. They are not gaining anything out of it. On the other hand, a devotee's control on sex desire is for the sake of service to the Lord. There's a difference in the purpose and the motive for which we do it. So yes, Gyanis can do it, yogis can do it, celibacy is essential for everyone. Even for performing yajna, celibacy is essential for karmagandi people also. When they do chaturmas, when they do other vratas, they have to be performing celibacy. That's essential for that. So they may do it, but that is done only as a means to attain their goal. It is not done as a means to please the Lord. Their means and goal are different in that. So the Jnani's desire to merge into Brahmajyoti is considered more, kind of deeper desire than the karmi's desire to enjoy. Because they want to become one with the Lord or they want to merge into Brahmajyoti. So although they may be successful in restraining the sex desire at one level, but this desire is more deeper than the sex desire also. So for the higher desire, one can go through a lower desire. Like somebody has to catch a flight, and one will wake up in the midnight and catch the flight because catching flight is more important than sleep. He loves to sleep, but he has to catch a flight. He will wake up, right? So similarly, the Gyanis have more desire that I will merge and I will just merge this existence. I will not have a body and mind. So that intensity is more than having sex with the body. So he may refrain that. He may restrain that, but that is not considered very glorious. Bhakta's fall down also is considered glorious because he still is a bhakta. That's why Krishna glorifies the fall down of a devotee, not the fall down of a jnani or he assured that no, you have to consider him a sadhu only. Sadhu reva samantavya. You consider him a sadhu even though he has fallen because he is trying, he is repenting. And then nothing else to be done than repent and continue. Repent and reinstate. So that is the difference. Krishna is not Jnani Vatsala or Yogi Vatsala, he is Bhakta Vatsala. So Bhakta may do some mistake because of his previous samskaras or some breach of regulation, but Krishna is very, very protective. But Jnanis and Yogis, they are on their own. So even if they consider sex desire, they may become proud. Now, pride is higher than lust also. Sometimes they become proud of their siddhis and their achievement. So pride is subtle sex. They may control gross sex, but they are not able to control the subtle sex of being proud of their achievement. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So
So
we
yeah,
have 10
subtle and
minutes.
gross sex both here is talked about. Yeah.
Devotee is already working on the subtle sex because he say I'm Dasanudas, so that is already very crushed. So gross sex he will control in some time. We have a 10-minute break, 12:30 we'll meet again and continue with the remaining part of the chapter. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Name Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Okay, so continuing our discussion on interaction between Mother Diti and Kashyap Muni. So Diti has got afflicted by sex desire, and she has given 6 reasons for why Kashyap Muni should satisfy her, because she is his faithful wife, she has affection for her, she wants children, and she's envious of her co-wives. Like there's 6 different reasons she's saying. And now Kashyap Muni will reply, and in trying to reply, he will, kind of glorify the position of the wife, and also tell her, request her to wait for a few moments till the time the muhurta, which is not auspicious, passes away. But then Diti, being too afflicted, will not be able to listen to that, and Kashyap Muni will succumb to that, and then further things will come. So let's see in 1.5 hours how far we can go. एषते अहं विद्यास्मि प्रियं भीरु यदिच्छसि तस्य कामं न कुर्या सिद्धिस्तैवर्गिकीयतः. So glorifying his wife now, which is true. In some places it is more than what is required, but other places it is right. Okay.
O afflicted one, I shall forthwith gratify whatever desire is dear to you. For who else but you is the source of the 3 perfections of liberation?
Yeah. So 3 perfections are dharma, artha, and kama. And then she is also a source of liberation because she offers a service to the husband for his ultimate liberation. So she takes care of dharma, artha, and kama so that the man can focus on moksha, and she automatically get liberated because of being ardhangani. Conditioned material life is based on sense gratification, and if someone has the good fortune to get a good wife, he is held by wife in all respect. If one is undisturbed, one is disturbed in his conditioned life, he becomes more and more entangled in material contamination. So a faithful wife is supposed to cooperate with her husband in fulfilling all material desires so that he can become comfortable and execute his spiritual activities for the perfection of life. And then, if the husband is progressive in his spiritual advancement, the wife undoubtedly shares in his activities, and thus both husband and wife profit in his spiritual perfection. Prabhupada says, it is essential, therefore, that the girls as well as boys be trained to discharge the spiritual duties so that at the time of cooperation, both will be benefited. The training of the boy is brahmacharya, and the training of the girl is chastity. Faithful wife and spiritually trained brahmachari are a good combination for advancement of the human mission. So we have many good examples in our current community also, where if the man is trained in brahmacharya, if the man is trained in the brahmacharya and the wife is chaste and faithful, then they both are able to make proper advancement in spiritual life. So he thanks her that, okay, you are taking care of 3 aspects of my life, so I will satisfy you. Okay, next one.
As one can cross over the ocean with sea-going vessels, one can cross the dangerous situation of the material ocean by living with a wife.
Yeah. So again, continues glorification of his wife. Kashyap Muni is saying that ocean cannot be crossed very easily, but if there is a vessel, there is a boat, there is a ship, then one can easily cross it. So similarly, the material ocean is dangerous, but by living with a wife, one will not get attracted for the wrong ways, the wrong means, because one is protected by a wife. So Prabhupada explains that there are 4 orders for cooperation in the endeavor for liberation of material existence. The order for brahmacharya, household life with the wife, grastha, retired life, renouncement, all depend for its successful advancement on the householders who live with the wife. The other three ashramas are dependent for their sustenance and for their progress on proper grasthas. So grastha ashram is the foundation of all three ashramas. How Prabhupada will explain it further. The man who lives with a wife has a great responsibility in maintaining the members of the other spiritual orders. Brahmachari is Vanprastha and Sannyasi. So this ashram maintains the other three financially as well as by providing members. Right? Brahmacharis don't fall from the sky, no? They also have parents. So if the grasthas produce good children, then they'll become brahmacharis. Take brahmachari training at least. And if the grasthas do their duty properly, they'll become vanprasthas. So vanprasthas also come from good grasthas. And the vanprasthas, after practicing austerity, they can take sannyas. So one is the financial dependence, another is the dependence on their number itself. If grasthas are not there, how do you get brahmachari? How do you get vanprastha? How do you get sannyasis? So by helping the other three sections of society cultivate spiritual value, the household also make advancement in spiritual life. Their duty is to support. Ultimately, every member of society automatically becomes spiritually advanced and easily crosses the ocean of nations. So he's glorifying Grastha Ashram, being with the wife. He's considering it like a vessel, it's like a ship. Next one.
Oh, respectful one. A wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body because of her sharing in all auspicious activities. A man can move without anxiety, entrusting all responsibilities to his wife.
So, wife is called Ardhangini. Ardhangini means she's the better half of the man. Anything the man does, the wife gets the credit automatically, if provided she is chaste and faithful to the husband. She gets automatically, she doesn't have to do that. Even today, if the husband is working and he gets an insurance, the wife automatically gets covered. The man's insurance, it covers the whole family. Wife, children, dependents are covered in the insurance. And even if they become sick, the company pays for them. And if the man dies in a job, in a government job, half the pension is given to wife after he leaves. Right? That's a rule in government, in military also, and in other government sectors also, bank and anything. If the man dies on duty, then the wife is offered a job also. And if the man is retired and he dies, then the wife gets half of the pension amount. My Bua, my Fufa was in electricity department of UP government. So he left his body 2 years back. So he was getting 1 lakh as pension. So my Bua gets 50,000 as pension now also. Same thing happens with the military man and all. So even governmental laws, we can see that she's Ardhangani, she get half of the benefit of that. Why? Because she takes care of many of the responsibilities. Like you see, Grasthas, they come iron cloths, ekdam pura acha sa. They don't do it. The wife who she does the laundry or she will get it done. They don't have to maintain the room. The brahmachari is maintaining room is such a big challenge dormitory. A schedule बनाओ. Monday को ये करेगा, ये voice चला गया, Monday को हुआ ही नहीं clean. We tried washrooms, but then never worked out. So we said, okay, let employees do it. So, but she maintains the whole house very neat and clean. Prasadam to the diet, whatever diet is required. So they do their part. And because of so they manage the household affairs, and that's how they support. So the husband is completely free. Many times, even when there are children, the wife to support the husband, she takes care of the children, and the husband is able to sleep at 9 or 9:30. He gets up early, 3:30, 4 o'clock. He child all is around, he has to go to job. The wife takes care. So wife provides a very favorable atmosphere. At times there are a lot of quarrels, but I'm talking of somebody who's very cooperative. So it happens. And that is why she gets the half the credit of the man. The man chant his round nicely, the wife also gets it. She also has to chant. It is not that just she gets like that. But you see, like Tukaram Maharaj's wife, what is the name? Avali. Avali. So she was not like spiritually inclined, but she was very, very faithful, very chaste, and very protective. She couldn't understand why Tukaram Maharaj has to be. I mean, he was abnormal in her sense. For us, he may be a saint, but if you see from the perspective of wife, he was absolutely abnormal. Husband has to do some work, make a living, take care of the children. He was dependent on the Lord. So for us, he's transcendental. For her, he was really not fully responsible and all. But she was still very careful and caring and protective. So Tukaram Maharaj invited her without any qualification. He invited, you come. He gave her the whole offer without doing any sadhana. But then she said, no, I have to take care of the buffalo which has come in dowry from my mother has given. She stayed back, but definitely she attained a very high destination even later. Devotee, Kartam Muni says that although you're not spiritually very elevated, but because you've served me, I will transfer my credits to you. You know? So, like that, if a woman is very faithful and chaste, she deserves that. The same type of relationship exists between husband and, between guru and disciple. If the disciple serves very faithfully, loyally, remains faithful, chaste, then the guru blesses him with divine realizations. The Guru's mercy and blessing is not in just terms of knowledge, but in terms of the conviction, the realization which Guru shares with him. So he says a family man has to perform panchayagya. When a man becomes qualitatively like cats and dogs, he forgets his duties in cultivating spiritual values and he accepts wife as a sense gratificatory agent. If wife is accepted as a sense gratificatory agent, personal sense gratification, there is disruption or divorce. But when husband and wife aim at spiritual advancement by mutual cooperation, there is no consideration of personal beauty or the disruption of so-called love. This is very important purport for all. In the material world, there is no question of love. Sometimes it appears there's some kind of love, but Prabhupada makes it clear. Marriage is actually a duty. This is a beautiful definition actually for all time, for everyone. Marriage is actually a duty performed in mutual cooperation as directed in the authoritative scripture for spiritual advancement. Beautiful definition. I've never found any definition of marriage like that. Vivaha, samskar, vivaha, yajna. It's a duty. Just like we have Upanayana samskar, we have Garbhadana samskar. This is samskar, vivaha samskar. It's a duty which is performed in mutual cooperation between the man and the wife, as directed in the authoritative scripture. As per scripture, not whimsically. And the purpose is for spiritual advancement, not for anything else. And thus, marriage is essential in order to avoid the life of cats and dogs who are not meant for spiritual enlightenment. So, many times when people want to get married, they keep many conditions. Even 16 rounders chanting devotees, initiated devotees, she should look like this, she should be educated like this. Now, they may have certain relevance, but the prime thing should be whether there will be mutual cooperation for spiritual advancement. That is the important part. Whether our nature and taste matches. Otherwise, when one goes for beauty, beauty is short-lived. We have seen so many Matajis, they look good before marriage. After marriage, they become like football. Radha Namara says they look like ladies' finger in the beginning. Later on, they become like brinjal. So it happens. And at times, there are one or two couples whom I was wondering, the husband, wife, pata nahi hai, because Mataji is just so oversized that difficult to know. And sometimes the husband becomes oversized also, and the wife is slim and thin. So it's a duty, as prescribed in the scripture for spiritual advancement. It is not for sense gratification. If it's taken for sense gratification, then the purpose is lost. Okay, next.
As a fort commander, very easily conquers invading plunderers. By taking shelter of a wife, one can conquer the senses, which are unconquerable in the other spiritual orders.
So here Prabhupada gives a beautiful purport here again. Actually, the senses, if they're engaged in wrong ways, then they constitute fall down in the other ashramas. Because brahmachari, vanprastha, sannyas, sex is prohibited. Only regulated sex is allowed in grahastha ashram only. But because the senses are very powerful, if the one has sex desire, in grahastha ashram one can use it in a regulated way. and pacify the mind. But in other ashramas, if one is not, sufficiently mature and one wrongly indulges in such desire, then one actually falls down from the position. So Prabhupada says of the four orders, the household is on the safe side because the senses are considered plunderers of the food of the body. They are plunderers. They want to loot the wealth. The wife is said to be the commander, and therefore, when there is an attack on the body by the senses, it is the wife who protects the body from being smashed. The sex demand is inevitable for everyone, but one with a fixed wife is saved from the onslaught of the sense enemies. A man who possesses a good wife does not create a disturbance in society by corrupting virgin girls. Without a fixed wife, a man becomes a debauchee of the first order and is a nuisance in society unless he is trained as a brahmachari, vanprastha, or sannyasi. And here is the mission statement for brahmachari. This is a statement you can highlight and put in the locker also if you want. This is something worth meditating. Unless means not less than that. Unless there is rigid and systematic training, not loose training, not unsystematic training. Unless there is rigid and systematic training of the brahmachari by the expert spiritual master, not an unexpert spiritual master. Unless the student is obedient. See, from the spiritual master side, there is this rigid training, systematic training, and expert training. And there has to be obedience from the student side. Unless this is there, it is sure. You notice the words which are used by Prabhupada. This statement really shook me. I mean, I've never found a statement more heavier than this about the brahmachari life. Other place, even in Rajamila section. Unless the rigid and systematic training of the brahmachari by the expert spiritual master, and unless the student is obedient. Why? Because training can happen and one person can take it officially. ठीक है, देख लेंगे. 5 साल तक नहीं मिलेगा फोन तो देखेंगे. 5 साल के बाद तो मिलेगा. डिपार्टमेंट के लिए तो व्हाट्सएप मिलेगा उस टाइम में देख लेंगे. Unless the student is obedient, he understands the purpose of the training. Not the department phone है तो डाल दो उसमें अपना सिम department phone. The purpose is to be understood. Now, what is the purpose for which things are being done? Not we bypass the systems. So unless the student is obedient, it is sure. It is not to be doubted. It is sure that the so-called brahmachari will fall prey to the attack of sex. So, Pandavashanam Prabhu, you're there?
Yes, Prabhuji, I am standing, that's why.
Yeah. So this is one of the key points to be noted, why things happen. Prabhupada is so heavy about that. And then he said there are so many instances of fall down even for great yogis like Vishwamutra. Grihastha is saved because of his faithful wife. Sex is the cause of material bondage, therefore it is prohibited in the 3 ashramas, but is allowed only in the Grihastha ashram. Grihastha is responsible for producing first class brahmacharis and 1% sannyasi. It's the productive unit, Grihasthas. All the financial thing and all the manpower in 3 ashramas that depend on Grihastha ashram only. It's a vital ashram, it's a very sacred ashram. It is not to be joked about. It is not to be laughed about or taken lightly. If somebody is a proper grihastha, which people are usually not, then one should be respected very highly. Mahaprabhu is respecting Sarvam Bhattacharya, Advaita Acharya, Srivas Thakur. He's not joking about them. Right? So grihastha ashram is a very serious responsibility. If somebody can take that responsibility as per his nature, one can go back to God, the grihastha also. By creating first class brahmachari, by becoming first class vanprastha and later take sannyas if possible. By giving 50% in donation. If one follows. Similarly, one can be a good brahmachari. The problem is the grihasthas don't see what is the quality of their ashram and they expect brahmacharis to be pure devotees. And brahmachari don't see that how obedient, submissive and faithful I am to my ashram. And they expect grihasthas to be high class. And not finding them high class, both criticize each other. Ashram criticism is one of the most popular prajalpa in our society. It happens to some degree in Pune also, not so much because Radhanath Maharaj is, dead heavy bent upon that. Otherwise, in all other places, either there is too much mixing, looseness, brahmachari is calling Mataji, yaar ashram mein khana acha nahi bana hai, kya bana rahe? Bana sakte hain ki hum aate hain sham khane. Either that much looseness is there, or There's criticism. ये लोग क्या करते हैं ना, खाते हैं पीते हैं सुमो में घूमते हैं बस. पहले हमारे पास सुमो था ना, तो एक बार एक स्लोगन आया था, खाते हैं पीते हैं सुमो में घूमते हैं, ऐसा करते हैं. दस लोगों ने बनाया था. So, so there is so much for criticism because the ashramas are so different. The mindsets are so different. So there's so much to criticize each other. But it's up to us. We can appreciate or criticize. But anyone is following the process sincerely in any of the ashramas, following the regulation of that ashramas, he'll make advancement. It is not about ashram. It's about following the standards of that ashram. There are gangsters who have never touched their wives and no personal or physical interaction with the husband and wife. And they're living like for 10, 15, 20 years. They got married at the age of 30, 28, 30. And there are brahmacharis whose mind is just so corrupted and, filled with sex thoughts and sex desire, although they don't have anyone. A person with uncontrolled senses is like living with 6 wives anyway. 5 senses and sapatnaya. Satpatnaya. 6 wives is living like Sar Goswami. Satpatnaya. This word is being used by Brahmaji in his teaching to Priyavrat Maharaj. That Priyavrat, if you don't follow the instruction, if you live with your whimsical, independent mind, anyway living with 6 wives. Better you live with 1 wife. Of course, Priyavrat was very sense controlled, but Brahmaji is just making a point there. So this is significant. Advancement in spiritual life is based on the right attitude and following of the regulations and the rules of that ashram. It is not that one ashram becomes better than others. It's up to the person where he can best fit in. In Kali Yuga, both places there is problem. Brahmacharis are so much always in fear, what will happen, what will happen. So bank account and this and that. So many things happen in Brahmacharya and Grasthas are always in fear. So basically, to make proper spiritual advancement, one needs proper faith, Shastri Shraddha, Dada Shraddha. Whoever has it, whichever ashram will make advancement. That is the foundation, not the ashram itself. There are many dedicated people. You see this boy, Vasantraj, a small boy who sings Guru Puja, he stands and he comes from Harinam also. So his parent, they have 3 kids. They come. Sometimes you see our, what is the name? 3 sons he has.
Girraj and that yeah. Sarvatma Prabhu.
Father's name?
Sarvatma Avatar. I forgot the Sarvatma or something, sir.
Sarva Avatar Prabhu. You see, they create a car and they reach. Parashampu reaches by 4:25, and people like me struggle at 4:30 also. If I get late at night, so much trouble. So one should not get biased toward ashramas. One should see the sincerity and the purpose behind each of the ashramas. And this one should remember that unless the rigid and systematic training, it may be hard, it may be harsh. Why not this? Why not that? Why this way, not this way? Why not preach to congregation? Why not have this mobile? Why not this access? But unless there is rigid and systematic training and unless there is obedience to accept it, that it is for our good, then if it is accepted grudgingly, if it is accepted with criticism, one will not be properly situated. And then Prabhupada said, the so-called brahmachari will fall prey to sex life. Very dangerous. So we have to cultivate the obedience and submissiveness and take part in the training program with full sincerity. Okay, next one.
O King of the home, we are not able to act like you, nor could we repay you for what you have done, even if we worked for our entire life or even after death. To repay you is not possible even for those who are admirers of personal qualities.
Prabhupada says husband usually do not admire the qualities of the wife. But even if they admire, then also they cannot pay the debt. It's something like na pa rahe hum. Perverted reflection of that. Kashyap Muni is flattering. And Prabhupada says, so a woman by her husband indicates that he is henpecked or is talking lightly in joke. Kashyap Muni meant that householder living in life enjoy the heavenly blessing of sense enjoyment at the same time of no fear of going down to hell. O queen of the home, we are not able to act like you, nor could we repay you for what you have done, even if you work entire life or even after death. The man in the renounced out of life has no wife and may be driven by sex desire to seek another woman or another's wife, thus go to hell. In other words, the so-called man of the renounced out of left his house and wife goes to hell if he again desires sexual pleasure knowingly or unknowingly. In that way, the householders are on the side of safety. Therefore, husband as a class cannot repay their debt to women either in this life or in the next. Even if they engage themselves in repaying the woman throughout their whole life, it is still not possible. Not all husbands are able to appreciate the good qualities, but even though one is able to appreciate it, still it is not possible to repay the debt. Such extraordinary praises by husband for his wife are certainly in the mood of joking. So Kashyap Muni is overwhelmed, doesn't want to displease Diti. So he's यार आपको क्या है, आप तो घर संभालते हैं, हम तो बाहर जाके काम करके आते हैं. घर का काम, बाहर का काम, घर का काम ज्यादा कठिन है, घर संभालना ज्यादा कठिन है, एम्पायर संभालना आसान है. So like that is saying. So now he says that uh, he says that read it.
Even though it is not possible to repay you, I shall satisfy your sex desire immediately for the sake of begetting children. But you must wait for only a few seconds so that others may not reproach me.
Yeah, muhurtam pratipalaya. You wait for a few moments because why? This is not the right moment. So Prabhupada says that hand-packed husband may not be able to repay, but then giving a child is not a difficult thing unless he is thoroughly important. It's an easy task. But he requested her to wait for a few seconds so that others might not reproach him. And why? He explained his position as follows. Now he talks about the position of Lord Shiva in the next almost 7 verses. Esha ghortama veda ghoranam ghora darshana charanti yasyam bhutani bhote sha anucharaniha. ये घोरतम वेला है, most horrible time.
This particular time is most inauspicious because at this time the horrible looking ghosts and constant companions of the Lord of the ghosts are visible.
So this is the evening time, Sandhya, when the night has not yet started and the sun has just set. So this is the time when Lord Shiva is moving around with ghost among. So Kashyapa is telling, wait for a while. I will fulfill your desire, but if we do it now, then it will result in punishment from the ghost and evil spirit. एतास्यां साधवी संध्यायां भगवान भूत भावना परितो भूत पर्षद्भिः वृष्णे तथि भूतराट.
Lord Shiva, the king of the ghosts, sitting on the back of his bull carrier, travels at this time, accompanied by ghosts who follow him for their welfare.
So just like there are Vishnu Rat, Samrat, there is Bhutrat. Bhutrat. Bhutrat means king of the ghost. Rat means king. So Bhutrat means king of the ghost. Samrat means king of the entire empire. So Lord Shiva traveling at this time accompanied by ghosts, and ghosts are following him for their welfare. So that is why this is not the auspicious time. Prabhupada says, Mayavadi philosophers are mostly worshippers of Lord Shiva, and Shankaracharya is considered to be incarnation of Lord Shiva for preaching godlessness to the Mayavadi philosophers. And ghosts are bereft of physical body because they commit suicide. The last resort of the ghostly characters in human society is to take shelter of suicide, either material or spiritual. Material suicide causes loss of the physical body, spiritual suicide causes loss of the individual identity. Right? The physical body is killed, that is physical suicide. Spiritual, we have Satchidanand, but we want to kill that Ananda feature, that service attitude, that is also spiritual suicide. Lord Shiva, being very kind to the ghosts, sees that they get physical body despite their being condemned. So he placed them into the wombs of women who indulge in sexual intercourse, regardless of the restriction on time and circumstance. So that's why Kashyapa wanted to impress this fact upon deity. Okay, now Lord Shiva is further described.
Lord Shiva's body is reddish and he is unstained, though covered with ashes. His hair is dusty from the whirlwind dust of the crematorium. He is the younger brother of your husband, and he sees with his 3 eyes.
Yeah. So form of the Lord is described, that he is reddish, he is covered with ashes, hair is dusty from the whirlwind dust of the crematorium, and he is Kashyapa's younger brother. How? Brother-in-law. Because Sati, Diti's sister. And Sati is married to Shiva, so they're brother-in-laws. So that's why he's a younger brother. And they may say that, okay, we will do it somewhere where he cannot see. So no, he sees sun and moon and fire, the three eyes of Lord Shiva. So that's why Lord Shiva is not ordinary entity. He is in the category, he is in between, neither Jiva, neither Lord. Neither Jiva Tattva, neither Vishnu Tattva, his own Tattva, Shambhu Tattva. So Shiva can see past, present, and future. And then he talks about the three eyes. He lives in the crematorium where the dead bodies are burned, and the well-burned dust of the crematorium is body leaders. Still is unstained by material contamination. And Kashyapa took him as a younger brother because Sati was married to Lord Shiva. Like that. So Kashyapa warned his wife that because Lord Shiva would seek their sex indulgence, the time was not appropriate. Diti might argue that they would enjoy sex life in a private place, but Kashyapa reminded her that Lord Shiva has three eyes called the sun, moon, and fire, and one cannot escape his vigilance any more than one can escape Vishnu. So although seen by the police, a criminal is sometimes not immediately punished. The police wait for the proper time to apprehend him. The forbidden time for sexual intercourse would be noted by Lord Shiva, and Diti would meet proper punishment by giving birth to a child of ghostly character or godless impersonist. Kashyap foresaw this, and thus he warned his wife Diti. Then Diti may say that, okay, he's a relative, so he may not punish us. He's a relative, ultimately. He's a husband of my wife and husband of my sister, so he may not punish. So then Kashyap Muni says this.
Lord Shiva regards no one as his relative, yet there is no one who is not condemned with him. He does not regard anyone as very favorable or abominable. We respectfully worship the remnants of his footstuff, and we vow to accept what is rejected by him.
Yeah. So he says that Shiva has no relative. At the same time, he is very kind and no one is disconnected with him. He's a well-wisher of everyone and he does equal justice. He has no favoritism. He's not biased. So he glorifies in this way. That Kashyapa is saying that just because Shiva is his brother-in-law, that should not encourage Diti in her offense toward him. Kashyapa warned that Lord Shiva is not connected with anyone, nor is anyone his enemy. He is equal to everyone. His greatness is comparable because he is the great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Among all the devotees, Lord Shiva is greatest because he is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. And therefore, the food system led by him are accepted by other devotees as Mahaprasad, great spiritual food system. So that's why Prasad and Mahaprasad. And then he says, Lord Shiva is so great that he does not care for the material prosperity for which every one of us is so eager. Parvati is a powerful material personified under his full control as his wife, and yet he does not use her even to build a residential house. Imagine, you know somebody who is the owner. Quite a good fun. Nyati builders or Kumar builders. And they are builders, but they live in an open forest. They don't have a house to live in. It will be a surprising thing. No? Usually the builder builds a flat in every building for himself. As a rule. In every building, the top floor is called owner's flat or owner's residence. He may sell it later, but initially he makes it for himself also. The top flat. If there are 4 flats, he will combine 2 flats and he will have the terrace for him, usually. But here, Parvati is material nature personified. She's doing so much creation. But he doesn't use her even for creating a residential house. He prefers to remain without shelter, and his great wife also agrees to live with him humbly. People worship Durga for material prosperity, but Lord Shiva engages her in his service without material desire. And he advises her. What is the advice? Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadyanam samarcham. There is a translation proper what he advises his wife. Like. Next.
Although no one in the material world is equal to or greater than Lord Shiva, and although his unimpeachable character is followed by great souls to dismantle the mass of nescience, he nevertheless remains as if a devil to give salvation to all devotees of the Lord.
Very interesting. No? Generally, it said first dress, then address. Lord Shiva is Avaduta. Lord Shiva things are very different. The Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu is the greatest Vaishnava. And why is the greatest Vaishnava? Because he tries to deliver the lowest of mankind. Lowest species he tries to deliver. The ghost and Pisachas and all, the lowest. So he's considered the greatest because he delivered the lowest. Lord Shiva's uncivilized devilish characteristics are never abominable because he teaches the sincere devotees how to practice detachment from material enjoyment. He's showing an example. Don't be attached. I have so much. My wife is Durga. She is the mistress of the entire material creation and I am living under a tree. So you be satisfied whatever you live in. And he gives teachings also. To whom all he had taught? Huh? Prachetas. It's so, that is called Rudra Geet, right? Prachetas, he's teaching them pure devotional service. He is one sampradaya, Rudra sampradaya, following his teachings. So he's a great devotee, but he's teaching devotees detachment from material enjoyment by his own example. He's called Mahadev, greatest of all time. He's almost equal with Lord Vishnu. Although he always associated with Maya, he's above the reactionary stage of the three modes of material nature. And although he's in charge of devilish character in the mode of ignorance, he is not affected by such association. That is why he's great. Otherwise, it's not easy to remain in the association, not get affected. So Lord Shiva remains with these creatures to give them association, not take their association. He's so powerful. He can give them association, elevate them, and deliver them rather than getting affected by them. Next verse.
Unfortunate foolish persons, not knowing that he is engaged in his own self, laugh at him. Such foolish persons engage in maintaining the body, which is eatable by dogs, with dresses, ornaments, garlands, and ointments.
So, Prabhupada says that the dresses, ornament, garland, ointment, many people use for themselves. But Lord Shiva knows they are all meant for the service of the Lord only. So he uses all of this to serve the Lord, right? To decorate the Lord, beautify the Lord. But people who are foolish, they use all these things. Dresses, what kind of dresses are there? We went to Banaras to buy sari for Lord Balaji. That's the only time I went ever to buy saris because I never took my mother also to buy sari. She used to go with my sisters. I have three sisters. And I had no idea over the rate. So of course we were there for Balaji. So he took us to that go down kind of thing. And sari is like minimum was like 5,000 rupees. Sari. 5,000 में बोला यार 5,000 में तो 10 जोड़ी धोती कुर्ता आ जाएगा. कितना जोड़ी आ जाएगा? 500 का होता है, 700 का होता है, 500, 700, 800 का एक होता है. 5,000. बोला ये तो ऐसे ही है. कितने तक का होता है? बोला 2 लाख तक का साड़ी होता है. 2 लाख का साड़ी क्या होता है उसमें? उससे भी ज्यादा का होता है. उसमें गोल्ड का थ्रेड बना के काम करते हैं. एम्ब्रॉयडरी होता है ना, एक्चुअल गोल्ड का होता है. लाइक योर गोल्ड प्लेटिंग ऑन द ऑल्टर. ऐसा गोल्ड का एम्ब्रॉयडरी होता है. फूल बनाया, कुछ डिजाइन बनाया, वो गोल्ड का होता है. गोल्ड सिल्वर का एम्ब्रॉयडरी. 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh. one sari like that. They don't offer it to Lord. Huh? We also buy in the range of 10,000, 20,000. People wear it, no? Somewhere they wear it for one time. Now Ambani's wife is there. What is her name? And she has a mobile of 1 CR. क्योंकि उसमें वो एक ही मोबाइल है, अपने आप में बनाया है कंपनी ने. उसमें हीरे लगे, हीरे. रोलेक्स वॉचेस मिनिमम इज 5 लाख. 5 लाख to 5 करोड़ तक का रोलेक्स वॉच आता है. क्योंकि वो डायल में हीरे लगा देते हैं ना, तो हीरे का कीमत बढ़ जाता है. So world is crazy, huh? World is crazy. Ornaments, you see, we may say they're plastic jewelry and all, but Lakshmi Road, you go, all the actual jewelers are there. Our Rathayatra was there, no? PNG, Raka Jewelers, Kalyan Jewelers, all so much. And they're all busy. They're all paying lakhs of rupees rent for the shop there in that market, so they must be earning that profit in crores. So people use dress, ornament, garland, ointment, what to say, of makeup. So many kind of gels and cosmetics and creams for each part, and so much. For what? Engaging in maintaining the body, which is eatable by dogs. This body. So Lord Shiva doesn't waste his time. Lord Shiva remains as simple as he can and uses all these things to worship and serve the Lord. Lord Shiva never accepted any luxurious dress, garland, ornament, or ornament. But those who are addicted to the decoration of the body, which is finally eatable by dogs, very luxuriously maintain it as a self. Such persons do not understand Lord Shiva, but they approach him for luxurious material comfort. Right? Sometimes people criticize also, like Daksha. Daksha was Daksha. So he was very much into that. He had dresses which were made in the heavenly planet. He had garlands which were made by many exalted people. He was wearing gold chains, necklaces, rings, diamonds. And he said, what is the Lord Shiva? I wear this and he wears this bhasma from Samshan. And look at his face. Look at my face. So much cosmetics I have used. So much beautiful I look. So people compare and laugh at Lord Shiva. And other people approach Lord Shiva for material comfort. One is gross materialist seeking only bodily comfort, they are Bhakti Kami. Other class desire to become one with him, they are Mukti Kami. And they are most impersonal, they prefer to chant Shivo Ham, Shivo Ham. After liberation, I will become one with Lord Shiva. The Karmis and Gyanis generally are devotee of Lord Shiva. If somebody serves Lord Shiva without any material motive, then Lord Shiva directs him to Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, or Lord Narayan. There are many instances for that also. So Karmi Gyani, they are devoted to Lord Shiva, they do not really understand the purpose of life. And they sometimes imitate him in using poisonous intoxicant because he is Nilakantha. But the followers, they become ruined. The real purpose of Lord Shiva is to serve Lord Krishna, the soul of the soul. Just like body is useless without the soul is useless without the super soul. Super soul is considered the soul of the soul. Krishna is considered the soul of the soul. Without soul, the body is no existent. It is dead. So without Krishna, the soul has no meaning. That's why the only consciousness, the true consciousness in this world is Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada gives a beautiful example. He says the only light is sunlight. The rest, every light is just a, form of sunlight in its limited capacity. And he says, just like you're seeing the tube light here, it's coming from powerhouse. The light, powerhouse is generating power. How? Either the river water is flowing, either the coal, right? Either the coal is being burnt, thermal power, what do you call? Thermal power. Like we went to that place, no? So much power station there. Chandrapur, yeah, so many huge, and the whole train line is there. So much coal was coming, going, and big thermal powers. Or there is hydraulic power station, they call it, or nuclear powers. But how do they all come? The rivers flow, then you make dam. But how do the rivers flow? Because the sun evaporates the water and takes it at the mountain, and then the water flows. So sunlight only does all the thing and stores it in the water. And then the water flows and gives back the light. Similarly, thermal also, the coal, it is fossil fuel. So trees absorb sunlight and then they store it and then they become fossilized. So ultimately, every light is ultimately a form of sunlight. So the only consciousness the soul has is Krishna consciousness. All consciousness are perverted reflection of that, he explains. Lord Shiva desires that all luxurious articles such as nice garment, garland, ornament, cosmetic be given to Lord Krishna only because Krishna is the real enjoyer. Lord Shiva refuses to accept such luxurious items himself because they are meant only for Krishna. However, since foolish persons do not know this purpose of Lord Shiva, they either laugh at him or profitlessly try to imitate him. Such a Lord Shiva. He just doesn't want to pose himself that, oh, I am the greatest devotee. That is why the greatest, because he doesn't want to take the position of the greatest devotee. When Samudra Manthan Leela happened, then Lord also came with all the demigod and praying, my dear Lord Shiva, you please drink the poison. And Lord Shiva, following the order of the Lord, he drank the poison and put it as a line in his throat. Nilakantha he became. And then everyone started saying, just see, Vishnu was with us and he was requesting Lord Shiva, who do you think is the greatest? You say Vishnu is greatest. Who drank the poison? Who requested him to drink the poison? Who became greater? So Lord Shiva was really fed up. He said, what is this nonsense? I am a servant of Lord. Lord engaged me in service. And Lord just engaged me. He wanted me to do something and become famous. That's why I did that. But my followers are not understanding. So he said, okay, not a problem. If the Lord want to glorify me, then I am also a servant of the Lord. I will also ensure that Lord's position is established and known to everyone. So he comes and tells, my dear Lord, I want to see Mohini Murti. I didn't see that part. The Lord said, why do you want to see Mohini Murti? You're already seeing me in Narayan. He said, no, that form I want to see. And then when Lord manifests Mohini Murti, and Lord Shiva, displays the pastime getting bewildered and runs through all these places where his followers are staying, specifically mentioned in Bhagavad. Om Namah Shivaya, this is A beautiful lady, they closed the eyes and came running. Huh? तो अपना शिवजी लग रहे. So, all through he went, and after coming back, he becomes happy. He says, "now देख दिया, आप दिखा दिया ना, आप बोलो कौन मास्टर है, कौन सर्वेंट है." That is the mood of Lord Shiva. Chaitanya Das Mui Chaitanya Das Chaitanya Das Tandir Dasir Anadas. The same mood is carried by Advaita Acharya. Lord Chaitanya dancing and Advaita Acharya is elderly, touching his feet, taking the dust and Advaita says, ठीक है. पहले दिखाया था, अभी फिर से दिखाता हूँ. हाँ? That time I showed in the form मोहिनी मूर्ति के रूप में दिखाया है, कौन बड़ा है, कौन छोटा है. After that, who is bigger now? Lord Shiva is chasing Mohini Murti, so who is bigger, who is smaller than the... Lord Shiva proved that I am just a tiny servant of Lord. And similarly, Advaita Acharya want to prove that I am the servant and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the master. Although he's taking the dust of my feet and all. So then he does that drama, that he speaks, Sharirak Bhashya, and then Lord comes and beats him up. And then he's laughing and he's saying, now, why are you beating me? Only a master can beat the servant. Servant cannot beat the master. So this is a very strong mood of Lord Shiva. And I am a servant only, I am nothing else. And as a servant, I don't want anything. Sometimes you want ना, ये महाराज का गारलेंड है, महाराज का उत्तरी है, महाराज का टी शर्ट है, थोड़ा अपने को भी लगता है महाराज है तो ये भी छोटे महाराज हो गए ना, क्योंकि महाराज का महा है तो हम लोग वैल्यू है ना, मेरे पास है आपके पास नहीं है तो आई एम बेटर देन यू, आई यू गॉट इट. So he doesn't want that also. He's so much fixed as a servant, doesn't want any glory as Advaita Acharya. And why he's like that? Whom does he worship? Sankarshan. And Sankarshan, original Sankarshan, Mool Sankarshan is Balaram. And Balaram carries that mood. And that is why all incarnation carries the mood of being servant of the Lord. Balaram carries that mood. He wanted to serve. So he came in Lakshman to serve. He served. But he felt, ye kya hai, ye thoda, I want to serve my Lord, but he's ordering me, and I'm not able to go against his will to serve him better. So he said, I'll come as Lakshman. And not Lakshman, I'll come as बलराम. तो बलराम के रूप में आ गया. बलराम के रूप में बड़ा भाई है तो सेवा नहीं कर सकते. बड़े भाई के रूप में भी सेवा नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि बाकी गोपाल भगवान का चरण दबाते हैं, सब करते हैं. बलराम जी से सेवा लेते नहीं है कृष्ण. दाऊ जी बड़ा भाई है तो सेवा नहीं लेते. तो फिर बलराम बोले यार ये भी इक्वेशन गलत हो गया. छोटे के रूप में सेवा नहीं कर सकते, बड़े के रूप में प्रोटेक्शन दे सकते हैं, डांट सकते हैं, लेकिन सेवा नहीं कर सकते. तो बोले मैं बड़ा होकर आऊंगा लेकिन सेवक बन के आऊंगा. और वो कौन सा फॉर्म है? Elder to Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu takes him as a servant. सुनो सुनो नित्यानंद, सुनो हरिदास, प्रति घरे घरे जाओ, करो यही भिक्षा, बोलो कृष्ण भजो कृष्ण, करो कृष्ण शिक्षा. आदेश देता है. Then Nityananda Prabhu is satisfied. Now I'm elder, but I am taken as a servant. That is the combination of that. So this is the servitude of Lord Shiva. Next.
Demigods like Brahma also follow the religious rites observed by him. He is the controller of the material energy, which causes the creation of the material world. He is great, and therefore his devilish characteristics are simply imitation.
They look devilish, but otherwise, he's a great devotee. एक माला हरिबोल का करेंगे. हरिबोल हरिबोल हरिबोल. ऐसा हरिबोल होता टाइम कम लगता था. हरिबोल 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 बात होता 3 मिनट में होता था हरिबोल का माला. So even Brahma ji, although in this world he appears as the son of Brahma, as Rudra, but actually he is higher than Brahma. Brahma is Jiva Tattva, Lord Shiva is Shambhu Tattva. So Brahma ji also follows the religious rites observed by him. So he controls material energy. Durga is his wife. And he's so great. So this devilish characteristic are simply imitation, just like we are hearing about Gaur Krishna, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He'll imitate just to avoid the materialistic people. So here says, Lord Shiva, husband of Durga, control of material energy. Durga is personified material energy, and Lord Shiva, being her husband, is the controller of the material energy. He is also the incarnation of the mode of ignorance, one of the 3 deities representing the Supreme Lord. His identical with the Supreme Lord is very great, and his renunciation of all material enjoyment is an ideal example of how one should be materially unattached. कुछ घर नहीं चाहिए, कुछ कपड़ा नहीं चाहिए, कुछ खाने को नहीं चाहिए, बस केवल हरि कथा सुनने को, कीर्तन करने को होना चाहिए, बस. He is always immersed in Hari Katha and Hari Naam. One should therefore follow in his footsteps and be unattached to matter. Not imitate his uncommon acts like drinking poison. One should do anusaran, not anukaran. शिव जी इतने महान भक्त हो के पार्वती के पति हो के इतना डिटैच है, तो हम लोग को तो सिंप्लीफाइड रहने चाहिए. Maitreya Vacha. Now Maitreya is saying further.
Maitreya said, Diti was thus informed by her husband, but she was pressed by Cupid for sexual satisfaction. She caught hold of the clothing of the great Brahmana sage, just like a shameless public prostitute.
Prabhupada writes very strongly. The difference between a married wife and a public prostitute is that one is restrained in sex life by the rules and regulations of the scripture, whereas the other is unrestricted in sex life and is conducted solely by the strong sex urge. So if one is conducted by sex urge, that is equivalent to prostitution. Due to her being pressed by Cupid, Diti became a prostitute. And the great Sis Kashyapa, although very enlightened, became a victim of his prostitute wife. Such is the strong force of the material energy. Prostitute wife, huh? The word Prabhupada uses. Nowadays, there's so many things in ISKCON, whether there can be 3 principles only, whether the 4th principle can be edited, what are the other Puranas saying, what are the other organizations doing. So much is going. See, Prabhupada is not making any compromise. He's saying if restraint in sex life is by rules and regulation, that is wife. Unrestricted sex life, even with the wife, is prostitution. Even with wife, he says, is breaking the regulative principle. If the rules and regulation are not followed, even in sex life with wife, that is a breach of the regulative principles. Next. Okay, online. Everyone is read? Everyone? Okay, part of online जाएंगे फिर.
His wife's purpose, he was obliged to perform the forbidden act, and thus, after offering his obeisances into worshipable fate, he lay with her in a secluded place.
Yeah. So he was weak-hearted. He knew the right thing, but he couldn't get the strength to do the right thing. Prabhupada says it appears that that he was a worshipper of Lord Shiva, and although he knew Lord Shiva would not be pleased with him for such a forbidden act, he was obliged to act for his wife's desire, and thus he offered his obeisances unto fate. So he knew it's not the right thing to do, but he said, "Ab jo bhi hai, dekha jayega. I can't do anything more." He knew that the child born of such untimely sexual intercourse would certainly not be a good child, but Kashyapa could not protect himself because he was too obligated to his wife. In a similar case, however, when Thakur Haridas was tempted by a public prostitute in the dead of night, he avoided the allurement because of his perfection in Krishna consciousness. That is the difference between Krishna conscious person and others. Kashyap Muni was learned, enlightened, he knew rules and regulations, yet he failed to protect himself from the attack of sex desire. Thakur Haridas was not a Brahmana, not born in Brahmana family, but still he could save himself because of his being Krishna conscious. He used to chant 3 lakh names daily. So further Prabhupada will say that Haridas Thakur could protect Kashyap Muni, was a worshipper of Lord Shiva. He could not restrain. And he knew something bad will happen, but still, chalo jo hoga. Okay, next.
Thereafter, the Brahmin took his bath in the water and controlled his speech by practicing trance and meditating on the eternal effulgence and chanting the holy Gayatri hymns with his mouth.
So this is the purification process which he followed afterwards. Prabhupada will talk about Gayatri and also about purification. As one is to take bath after using toilet, one is to wash himself with water after sexual intercourse, especially when engaged in at a forbidden time. Kashyap Muni meditated on the impersonal Brahma Jyoti by chanting Gayatri mantra within his mouth. When a Vedic mantra is chanted within the mouth, only chanter can hear. The chant is called japa. When such mantra is chanted loudly, it is called kirtan. And Vedic hymn, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, can be chanted both softly to oneself or loudly. Therefore, it is called the Mahamantra or the great hymn. So this is Mahamantra because it can be chanted both ways, softly or loudly. Other mantras usually can be chanted only in one way, either softly or loudly. Kashyap Muni appears to be an impersonalist. And then Prabhupada says, when he compared to Haridas Thakur, It's clear that the personalist is stronger in sense control than the impersonalist. Param drishtva nivartate. One sees to accept lower grade things when one is situated in superior condition. One is said to be purified after taking a bath and chanting Gayatri, but the Mahamantra is so powerful that one can chant it loudly or softly in any condition and be protected from all the evils of material existence. So it's a comparison between the chanting of Mahamantra and Gayatri Mantra, and also comparison between Kashyap Muni being weak because of being an impersonalist, and Haridasa Thakur being strong because of being a personalist, personal servant of the Lord. Okay, now next, Diti will come back. Yes.
O son of Bharat family, Diti after this went to her husband, her face lowered because of her faulty action. She spoke as follow.
Prabhupada says when one is ashamed of an abominable action, one naturally becomes downfaced. We can see that sometimes we commit some mistake or wrong thing. No? We become very upset and people can feel, Prabhuji, you seem to be unhappy, something wrong has happened, or health is not good, or something like that. People can make it out. One's face becomes totally lowered because of the faulty action. Deity came to her senses after the abominable sexual intercourse with her husband. Such sexual intercourse is condemned as prostitution. In other words, sex life, even with one's wife, is equal to prostitution if the regulations are not properly followed. Such are the regulations. Can you imagine? Now, sometimes people feel that Grasta life is a license for sex life. No. Grasta life also includes rules and regulations. If rules and regulations are not there, then sex life in Grasta ashram also is prostitution. It doesn't make one spiritually advanced. Hopefully now they'll take prasad silently. Now Diti is lamenting and is worried and is fearful, and she is expressing her concern to Kashyap Muni.
The beautiful Diti said, My dear Brahman, kindly see that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva, the Lord of all living entity, because of the great offense I have committed against him.
So that was a forbidden time, but she did not care for the time, and that is why she is now worried. And she knows the power of her husband and the power of him to offer protection. So she is approaching him and calling him Rishabham, the noblest, and saying that let Lord Shiva not kill my embryo because she'll become pregnant with that. So Diti is conscious of her offense and was anxious to be excused by Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva has two names, Rudra and Ashutosh. Rudra means one who becomes angry very quickly and makes one cry. And Ashutosh means one who becomes pleased very quickly. So both are there. So Diti knew that because of his being quickly angered, he might spoil the pregnancy she had so unlawfully achieved. But because he was also Ashutosh, she implored her Brahman husband to help her in pacifying Lord Shiva, for her husband was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. In other words, Lord Shiva might have been angry with Diti because she obliged her husband to transgress the law, but he would not refuse her husband's prayer. And that is why she submitted her request through her husband. She prayed to Lord Shiva as follows through her husband Kashyap Muni. Namo Rudraya Mahate Devo Devayo Graya Miduse Shivaya Nasta Dandaya Drata Dandaya Manyave.
Let me offer my obeisances into the angry Lord Shiva, who is simultaneously the very ferocious great demigod and the fulfiller of all material desires. He is all auspicious and forgiving, but his anger can immediately move him to chastise a wrongdoer.
So there are three pairs of opposite words being used by Diti in this prayer. Like he says, angry Lord Shiva, who is ferocious, great demigod and fulfiller of all material desire, is all auspicious, forgiving. Anger can immediately move him to chastise. So Diti prayed for the mercy of Lord Shiva very cleverly. She prayed, the Lord can cause me to cry by destroying my embryo. But if he like, he can also stop my crime because he's Ashutosh. Second is he's so great that if he like, he can immediately destroy my pregnancy. But by his mercy, he can also fulfill my desire that my pregnancy not be spoiled. And then third thing she says, because he's all auspicious, it's not difficult for him to excuse me from being punished, although he's now ready to punish me because I have aroused his great anger. So three contradictory things she says and prays that he can do anything. He can make me cry or he may not make me cry. He may fulfill my desire or he may punish me or he may not punish me. So like that he is trying to appease. Sana prasidataam dhamo bhagavan urvanugraha vyadasyapyanukampyanam strinam devasati patihi. So two more reasons she is giving. One thing is she is stri and secondly she is saying sati pati. You are sati pati. Connection. Sati is my sister only. So two things more he's saying. Yeah, she is saying here. Yeah.
Let him be pleased with us, since he is my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister Sati. He is also the worshipable Lord of all women. He is the personality of all opulence and can show mercy towards women who are excused even by the uncivilized hunter.
If uncivilized hunters can forgive women, then a devotee like Shiva can definitely do that. Three things she says. He is Satipati, that means he is the husband of my sister. Secondly, I worshipped him in my childhood, that also she is reminding. I worshipped him to get the husband. And third thing, because I am a woman, I deserve to be forgiven. This is. Lord Shiva himself is associated with women, so he knows very well their defective nature. And he might not take very seriously Diti's unavoidable offense which occurred due to her faulty nature. So he says, आपको पता है मेरी sister के साथ ही शादी हुआ. And Shiva knows also. Sati went through that Daksha sacrifice even after his not giving permission. Plus he says, Diti remembered her childhood worship of Lord Shiva had backed his mercy. Childhood she was worshipping. Now Maitri Muni is replying. Yes.
The great sage Kasyapa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duty of offering evening prayers, yet she desired welfare for her children in the world.
Yeah. So she was trembling in fear. On one hand, Lord Shiva should not destroy the womb. And another thing is that her Brahmana husband should not curse her or become angry with her. So that's why she has been very much afraid. Kashyapa Uvacha. Now Kashyap Muni is chastising her. Let's see what he says.
Because of my mind being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious.
Prabhupada talks about Garbhadhan Samskar. And fourth thing it tells, mind was polluted, time was not good, directions and instructions were neglected, and demigods were Helanath, Ati Helanath. They were apathetic. They were not considered. They were not paid respect towards that. So because of these four defects, everything was inauspicious. Prabhupada writes that condition for having good progeny in society is that the husband should be disciplined in religious and regular principle, wife should be faithful to the husband. And then, before engaging in sexual intercourse, both husband and wife must consider the mental condition, particular time, husband direction, and obedience to demigods. These four things should be considered. According to Vedic society, there is a suitable auspicious time for sex, which is called the time for Garbha Dhan. There is a Muhurta actually. And people take permission on that day, they know the Muhurta, they chant 50 rounds as Prabhupada directed. And then, in a sober way, as a yajna, they come together. Actually, the act of So this Garbhadhan is a samskar. It is nothing wrong. It is not that the man woman coming together is always lusty or thing like that. Without that, the creation will not happen. It's a very sacred act, provided it is done in that kind of right consciousness. People do it for enjoyment, then everything gets spoiled. But they do it to beget the nice children, devotee children. That's a very, very great service. And Krishna says, uh, Dharma aviruddha bhuteshu kama usmi bhartarshava. So, sex according to religious principle is a kind of yajna, where the women yoni is considered the yajna kunda, and the semen of the man is considered the ahuti. That is described in the Vedas. It's a ahuti, it's a yajna actually. And through that yajna, the nice children are born who are, followers of dharma. ये कहाँ ऊपर हो रहा है क्या? Why is this so much crazy sound? Just enthusiastic. Well, leave it. No point in. Actually, here the sound is more, I think, in the two rooms comparatively. Yeah, these two rooms are a little more peaceful comparatively. But I think they give this room only, no? Because those two rooms are for BMS. Yeah. So Diti neglected all such principles because she was very anxious for, but she was anxious for auspicious children. Then she was informed that her children would not be worthy to be sons of Brahmana. This is a clear indication here in that Brahmana's son is not always a Brahmana. And then he gives the example of that they are Rakshasas, they are what do you call Ravana and Kumbhakarna and Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, they are all there. And then he says there were only one or two Rakshasas in the previous ages due to negligence of the disciplinary methods, but during the age of Kali, there is no discipline in sex life. How then can one expect good children? Certainly, unwanted children cannot be a source of happiness in society. But, the but is very important. But through the Krishna conscious movement, they can be raised to the human standard by chanting the holy name of God. That is the unique contribution of Lord Chaitanya to human society. That is the unique contribution that although Varnashram is wonderful, samskaras are wonderful, but somehow or other, if one becomes submissive and takes to the chanting of the holy name under the direction of a Vaishnava, then one can be elevated from any position. Even if one is Varnashankara and more or less most of us are not conceived in a Garbhadan sanskar. Mothers may have done some pious thing and all that, but it's not something very rigidly followed. A few maybe, but more or less it's just a natural duty. It's not. And in West it is said that they are born over the Saturday night. They call it something Saturday night wine bottle, beer bottle, something. The boys and girls they get drunk, and then they unite, and then the child is born of that. So those such children don't have any samskaras, but the contribution of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that they can also be raised to the human standard by chanting of the holy name. Holy name chanting is so powerful. If one does it sincerely, without offenses, then one can purify that. So that faith we should have. So we have yajnas, we have rituals, but the highest faith, the greatest faith should be there in chanting of the holy name. That's important. Further he says, what will happen? The consequence. Okay, online somebody can read. Online, Haribol, who all are there?
Oh, haughty one, you will have two.
Yes, Vilashodhan too, please read.
Yes. Oh, haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky woman, they will cause constant lamentation for all the three worlds.
So because of the untimely union, you see, purposes. Contemptuous sons are born of the condemned mothers of womb of their mothers. What a statement. Eh? Contemptuous sons are born of the condemned womb of their mother. And he quotes Bhagavad Gita when there is a deliberate negligence of the regulatory principle, the woman as a class become polluted and there are unwanted children. Especially true for boys. If the mother is not good, there cannot be good sons. Prabhupada appreciated, Giraj Madhav's mother. He said, oh, he's a nice boy, then I knew that you must be a nice mother, because nice mothers only get nice children, nice sons. Leonard Kashyapa could foresee the character of the sons who would be born of the condemned womb of Diti. The womb was condemned because of the mothers being too sexually inclined and thus transgressing all the laws and injunctions of the scripture. So one cannot expect good children in such society. How will they, disturb the word that is being described in this verse? Please read. Vaibhav, read please.
They will kill poor, faultless living entities, torture women, and enrich the great souls.
So demonic activities are predominant when innocent, faultless living entities are killed, women are tortured, and the great souls engaged in Krishna consciousness are ended. All three are happening now. Innocent animals are killed to satisfy tongue, women are tortured by unnecessary sexual indulgence, and woman and meat is there, liquor and sex indulgence also must be there. And these things are prominent in society. You know, when these things are prominent in society, by God's grace, one can expect a change in the social order by the Lord Himself or by the Lord's bona fide representative, that is Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada went in such a society. The hippie society was exactly that. They're all Varnasankaras, all mediatic intoxication, illicit sex, gambling. Prabhupada transformed them. So that's why Prabhupada says when these things are prominent in the society, by God's grace, one can expect a change in the social order by the Lord Himself or by Lord's bona fide representative. Nothing else, no one else. Next, he tells because she was very worried that my son should not be killed by the shrap of a Brahmana, because one who is killed by the shrap of a Brahmana is condemned in this world and the next. So that is considered very horrible. So Shiva had that anxiety. So now Kashyap is saying how they will be killed. Yes,
At
please.
At that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts.
Yeah. So when they will torture the women, harass the devotees especially harass the devotees, because not only Brahmanas and other disturbance to law and order, Lord especially appears to protect his devotees. So when he will do that, then Lord will appear and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountain. So here Prabhupada describes that. Lord descend in an incarnation to deliver devotee, kill the miscreant. The Lord of the universe and of everything would appear in order to kill the sons of Diti because of their offending the devotees of the Lord. The many agents who can chastise any formidable miscreant in the world. The example of mountain being smashed by thunderbolt is very appropriate. Mountain is considered very strongly built, but can be easily smashed by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord does not need to descend in order to kill any strongly built body. He comes down just for the sake of his devotees. He just comes down for the sake of his devotees. Activities of miscreants, like killing people, animals, are harmful to everyone and therefore a source of pain for the devotees. And the Lord comes down. He descends only to give relief to the ardent devotees. He descends only to relief to the ardent devotees. Killing also the mercy of the Lord towards the miscreant, because apparently the Lord takes the side of the devotee. The Lord is absolutely no difference between the activity of killing the miscreant and favoring the devotee. But he comes primarily to favor his devotee. So this is the information he gives. And now Diti becomes very pacified. He says, at least my sons will not be killed by Brahmashra. Okay. Diti Ruvacha, Vadam Bhagavata Sakshat, Suna Vodara Bahuna, Ashashe Putrayor Mayam, Ma Krudhat Brahmanat Prabho. Read
He
it.
said, "It is very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of the personality of Godhead with his Sudarshan weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of the Brahmana devotees."
So she became very pleased, because they will see the Lord and they will see the Sudarshan weapon, they will get delivered, they will get higher destination. So she was not displeased about them. When Diti heard that her sons would, that the great souls would be angered by the activity of her sons, she was very anxious. She thought that her sons might be killed by the wrath of the Brahmanas. Brahmanas can also kill. The Lord doesn't appear when the Brahmanas become angry at someone, because the wrath of a Brahmana is sufficient in itself. Example, when the Brahmanas killed someone, Vena. Vena was so powerful, and now say, finished. Nothing, no raising no weapon, no fight. So Brahmanas, when they become angry, by the wrath only they can kill. But the problem is devotees don't become angry also. So Lord has to come. Brahmanas become angry, so their wrath only kills. But devotees don't become angry, so Lord has to come. Says further. The Lord doesn't appear, the Brahmanas become angry at someone, but it certainly appears, however, when the devotee simply becomes sorry. A devotee of the Lord never prays to the Lord to appear for the sake of removing the trouble of the miscreant caused for him. he never bothers by asking for protection. Rather, the Lord is anxious to give the protection to devotees. So these knew very well that the killing of our sons by the Lord would also be his mercy, and therefore he says that the will and the arms of the Lord are magnanimous. If somebody is killed by the will of the Lord, fortunate to see the arms of the Lord, then is sufficient for liberation. Such good fortune is not achieved even by the great sages. Lord personally appears because the devotees don't really, pray to him for protection. So he comes just like a helpless child is offered more protection by the parent as compared to a grown-up child. Correct? Like now we are grown up. So our mother may call us once a day only. Still, many brahmacharis get a call once a day also. बेटा कैसा है, खाया कि नहीं खाया, खाना ठीक बना है कि नहीं बना है, ज्यादा तीखा तो नहीं था, तो घर से बना के ला के देता है. So they may ask, but a baby, he cannot be out of the sight of the mother's eyes only, right? He can't be out of the sight for mother. He is completely dependent. So similarly, the devotees, when they are completely dependent on the Lord appears in his self-same form to protect. On the other hand, Brahmanas and all, they worship and they take care and they have that power to give a curse and destroy them. Say, okay, take care, no problem. Take care. So Diti became pacified by hearing this. न ब्रह्मदण्डदग्धस्य न भूता भययदस्य च नारकाशानुगृह्णन्ति याम याम योनिम असौ गतः.
A person who is condemned by a Brahmana or is always fearful to other living entities is not favored either by those who are already in hell or by those in the species in which he is born.
Yeah. Even those who are in hell or in the species in which he is born, they also do not favor a person who is condemned by a Brahmana. And practical example is a dog. Dogs are so condemned, they never show any sympathy to other dogs. Sometimes dogs also fight and they kill each other also. Especially they have their groups and gangs. So one gang, one single dog goes into some other territory, and the other dogs will kill him also. They don't say, "Ara apni jati ka hai." So this is somebody who is condemned by a Brahmana. Now Kashyapa, being pleased by Titi's attitude, now will bless him and now will glorify Prahlad Maharaj. This is the last section of this chapter. Kashyap uvacha कृतशोकानुतापेन सद्य प्रत्यवर्मर्शनात् भगवती उर्मानांच भवे मयि अपि चादरात् पुत्रस्यैव च पुत्राणां भवितैकः सतां मतः गास्यन्ति यद्दश शुद्धं भगवद्दश शासमम्. Parnashan to read.
The learned Kashyapa said, because of your lamentation, penitence, and proper deliberation, and also because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me, one of the sons, Prahlad, of your son, Hiranyakashipu, will be an approved devotee of the Lord, and his fame will be broadcast equally with that of the Personality of Godhead.
So earlier he said because everything was inauspicious. Why? Because your mind was contaminated with lust, because there was no consideration of time, there was no obedience to my instructions, and there was no regard for the demigod. Four things he tells why the situation is inauspicious. And now here he says, because of lamentation, you have lamented for that, repentance for that. Penitence, penitence means what? Penitence. What does the word penitence means? And proper deliberation. And also because of unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me. So again, there are four things: unflinching faith, adoration for Lord Shiva, proper deliberation, and lamentation. What will happen? One of the sons of your son, grandson, will be an approved devotee and his fame will be broadcasted at equal level with that of the personality of Godhead, and then he glorifies him. Yoga durvarnam bhavishayanti sadhava nirvairadibhiratmanam yashilam anuvartitum.
In order to follow in his footsteps, saintly persons will try to emulate his character by practicing freedom from animosity, just as the purifying process rectify gold of inferior quality.
Yeah. His character they will try to emulate by becoming free from animosity. Prabhupada says, yoga, the process of purifying one's existential identity, is based mainly on self-control. Without self-control, one cannot practice freedom from animosity. Because if self-control is not there, one want to do sense gratification, then there's a competition. No? There's a competition. So if there is, one gulab jamun and two devotees and no self-control, then both will want to have it all and they will feel that I should have it, not the other should have it. So for any object of sense gratification, because it's limited and people are more, then there will be animosity between people. But if there's self-control, then it doesn't matter, okay. Fine, you do whatever you want to do, I'm okay. Without self-control, one cannot practice freedom from animosity. In the conditioned stage, every living being is envious of other living being, but in the liberated state, there is an absence of animosity. Prahlad was tortured by his father in so many ways, yet after the death of his father, he prayed for his father's liberation by the Supreme Lord. He did not ask any benediction that he might have asked, but he prayed for his atheistic father might be liberated. He never cursed any of the person who engaged in torturing him at the instigation of his father. When Prahlad Maharaj was made as the king by Brahmaji, Prahlad Maharaj did not say, "Abhi CCTV nikalo." अब किसने मुझे सांप के बिल में फेंका था, लेके आओ उसको, अब इसको सांप के बिल में फेंको, टिट फॉर टैट. कौन मुझे पहाड़ के ऊपर ले जाके फेंका था, उसको लेके आओ उसको. कौन मुझे हाथी के नीचे लेके आया, तो हाथी के महावत को बुलाओ, तो हाथी का महावत किधर मेरे ऊपर चढ़ाने का प्रयास कर रहा था. And many times it happens when we are weak, we just accept, but when somebody becomes stronger, then he takes revenge. Hindi movies, Bollywood movies, instigate that kind of mentality. अभी वो हीरो वीक है, वो सह रहा है, लेकिन वो बड़ा हो जाएगा, बॉडी बिल्डिंग करेगा, फिर वो पावरफुल हो जाएगा, then he will beat the villain and say, याद कर वो दिन, याद कर वो दिन, and he will, take revenge for each of the things. I've seen that in movies. Sometimes they do like that. But he never cursed any other person who engaged in torturing that. यत् प्रसादादिदं विश्वं प्रसीदति यद् आत्मकं सस्वदृग् भगवान् यस्य तुष्यते अनन्य यादृशा.
Everyone will be pleased with him because the personality of Godhead, the supreme controller of the universe, is always satisfied with a devotee who does not wish for anything beyond him.
So everyone will be pleased with him because Lord is satisfied with him. When Lord is satisfied, everyone becomes satisfied. This is explained in the Dhruv Maharaj section also. When Dhruv Maharaj was returning back, not only his mother came, his stepmother also came. So the question is asked, how his stepmother became pacified? So it is explained that because the Lord is there in everyone's heart, when somebody pleases the Lord, then nobody feels envy or animosity towards that person. Now it may be asked then why Duryodhana was envious of Pandavas. So that is the stubbornness of the living entity. But in that case, it is explained that if the Supreme Lord is pleased, then all living entity also become very pleased with that person, except the demons and rogues and stubborn people. Supreme Personality Godhead is situated everywhere as the super soul, and he can dictate to anyone and everyone as he like. The future grandson Diti was predicted to be a great devotee, would like everyone, even by the enemies of his father, because he would have no other vision beside the Supreme Personality Godhead. The pure devotee of the Lord sees the presence of his worshipful Lord everywhere. And Lord reciprocate in such a way that all living entities in whom the Lord is dwelling as the super soul also likes a pure devotee, because the Lord is present in their heart and can dictate to them to be friendly to his devotee. This is what I was telling. The same thing is told in the Dhruv Maharaj section, but I don't have time to now. Because he can dictate to them to be friendly to his devotee. Many instances in history where even the most ferocious animal became friendly to a pure devotee of the Lord. Even one example, when ferocious animal became friendly. Many are there. Haridas Thakur was living that the snake was so venomous that just the air which was there, it was making people faint because it was so venomous. But when Haridas Thakur said, okay, wait, tomorrow I will leave the cave, let the snake live peacefully because he is the original resident. I am the tenant. Then the snake came out, he has a jewel on the top, he came out, he's a poisonous snake, and he walked up. He walked up with that. Many others, Rasikanantu also, there's a mad elephant, and the elephant became friendly because of that. And even that, many others are there. There was a tiger in Barsana. He met a sadhu and he was transformed by a sadhu, and tiger used to go and bag Madhukari. This is just few hundred years back, not too long of a time. So there are many examples when the ferocious animal can become friendly to a pure devotee of the Lord. Okay, Nimayanam Prabhu, you read now. Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahishta Pravruddha Bhaktya hi Anubhavitasya Nivesha Vaikuntam Imam Vihashyati.
That topmost devotee of the Lord will have expanded intelligence and expanded influence and will be the greatest of the great souls. Due to matured devotional service, he will certainly be situated in transcendental ecstasy and will enter the spiritual sky after quitting this material world.
Prabhupada talks about bhava here. There's Sthai bhav, there's Anubhav, Mahabhav. You've read in Nectar Devotion. If you want, you can read further. After 19 chapters, more description is there about that. Continuous perfect love of God is called Sthai bhav. It is performed in a particular type of transcendental relationship. It is called Anubhav. But the stage of Mahabhav is visible amongst the personal pleasure potency of the Lord only. That means Radharani and the gopis, personal pleasure potencies. It is understood that Prahlad Maharaj would constantly meditate on the Lord and recount his activities. And because he would constantly remain in meditation, he would easily transfer himself to the spiritual world after quitting his material body. Such meditation is still more conveniently performed by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord. This is especially recommended in the age of Kali. So, by chanting and hearing, remembrance gradually comes. If one is chanting, one should focus on chanting and hearing the holy name in the stages of Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya. As one, what he says, as one comes to Nishtha stage, then while chanting, one will be able to see the Rupa of the Lord. The Rupa of the Lord reveals while chanting at the Nishtha stage. If one's anarthas are, Prabhupada says 75% destroyed. And one is free from Anishchit Bhajan Kriya, Ussamayi, Ghanatarla, what is that? Vyud Vikalpa, Niyamakshama, Vishaya Sangha, and so Nishtha stage one can chant and one can actually, the form will start manifesting. And then at the stage of Ruchi, one can experience the guna, the qualities will manifest in the consciousness. And at the stage of Asakti, one can meditate on the Leelas also. And Bhava, which is the goal of sadhana bhakti, the Bhava stage, one Sarupa gets manifested, the complete Sarupa of how one serves in the spiritual world. So chanting and hearing properly, hearing Bhagavatam properly, Nasta Prayashu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. By serving the person and studying the book Bhagavat. Nasta Prayashu. Then anarthas are destroyed. Bhaktir Bhavati, Nastiki, Nastha Bhakti can arise. So these are all the stages. One cannot prematurely jump saying that this Baba is saying this is the formula. There's nothing. Consistently continue. Try to improve. Chant well, walking or sitting, whatever way one can chant, it's a struggle, but chant. And when Nistha will come, then Rup will manifest. And then further stages will come. Nistha onward, things are very fast. Till Nistha, there's a lot of struggle in that. So by chanting and hearing, the further things gradually follow. Nama Rupa Guda Lila get manifested. Alampata Shiladharo, Alampata Shiladharo Guna Karo, Hrishta Paradhya Vyatito Dukkiteshu, Abhuta Satru Jagata Shoka Harta, Nedagikam Tapamimo Rajaha.
He will be virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy to see others' happiness, distress to see others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun.
Jagataha Shoka Harta, Nedagikam Tapam Iva Udurajam. Like the moon destroy the summer sun, heat of the sun. Similarly, he will destroy the lamentation of the universe. Very beautiful qualities. Wherever Prahlad Maharaj description comes, qualities are described. Even Yudhishthira Maharaj talks about it. So many qualities are described. That Prahlad Maharaj, the exemplary devotee, has all the good qualities. Yashasti bhaktir bhavati akinchana. Sarva guna tatra Samasate Suraha. Although he was the emperor of this world, he was not profligate. He was the reservoir of all good qualities. Without enumerating those qualities, the present verse summarily says he was endowed with all good qualities. That is the sign of pure devotee. The most important characteristic of pure devotee is that he is not lumped or licentious. He is not a cheater. Another quality is that he is always eager to mitigate the miseries of suffering humanity. Yesterday we were hearing sadhu means one who is enthusiastic to do upakar to others. He want to upakar, he want to free others from their suffering. That is a sadhu's lakshan. Sadhu hridayam mahyam. This is a sadhu. What is that Kapila Dev says? That verse qualities are described. हाँ तितिक्षुवा कारुणिक सुहृदा सर्वदेहिना अजात शत्रु शांतो sadhava sadhu. That is being described. The most often this mystery of a living entity is this forgetfulness of Krishna. A pure devotee therefore always try to evoke Krishna, everyone's Krishna consciousness. That is the panacea for all miseries. Antarbahishyamalabjanetram sapurusha chenanugrihita rupam pautrastav lalamam drashta ispurat kundala manditananam.
Your grandson will be able to see inside and outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose wife is a beautiful goddess of fortune. The Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, and his face is always beautifully decorated with earrings.
In the face, the most beautiful thing are the earrings. That they find very vividly. Generally, Krishna has shark-shaped earrings and gopis have kundals, big kundals. Or many other, I mean, we have almost like not less than 200 pairs of earrings in our DT department also, all color, shape, sizes, round, gold, silver, hanging, and all different. And Matajis have a habit, every time they come, they'll bring some earring. They've learned it. Something they'll bring every time they do dressing. So, his face is always decorated. In the Damodar Ashtakam also it comes, na? What is the verse it says? Namamishwaram Sakchidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Vrajam. Lasat Kundalam. The kundal is there and it is touching the cheek. The shine of the kundal is getting reflected in the cheek and the kundal is kissing the cheek also. And then people also kiss the cheek, not the softest part of the body. Lasat Kundalam Gokula Vrajamana. Other places also it is said about Makara Kundala, this Avanga also, Makara Kundala. And another verse also says that Yasya Nanam Makara Kundala Charu Karnam. There also is that Yasya Nanam Makara Kundala Charu Karnam. The beautiful ears, Makara Kundala. Yasya Nanam Makara Kundala Charu Karnam. Brajat Kapola Subhagab Suvirasahasam. Nityosuvam na tatra purtrishabhi pibantyo naryo narasya mudita kupita nimesha. So they are cursing again Brahmaji, kupita nimesha. What is this nimesha is given? Yasya nanam makara kundala charu karnam, because kundala are very prominent. So one time, Radhan was giving a brahmachari class and somebody was asking Maharaj how to overcome lust, this, that. And he says, imagine you are taking darshan of Radha Gopinath and there's a very exquisitely beautiful lady just by your side. And she's having long flowing hair and Maharaj gave all this and beautiful earrings. Now it's your choice. Either you can see the beauty of the Lord and remain away from her, or if you see her, then you'll be in Maya. So both Krishna's beauty and Maya's beauty are side by side. You have to decide what you want to see. Choice is yours. So Kundal is a very important part of Shangar. Krishna also wears. Man usually don't wear, but Krishna wears because he's a Nataraj. He wears Nupur also. But Kundal is one of the most, and the closest. Krishna doesn't wear any, he wears that Navamoktikam Karutale Venum Kare Kankram. This pearl on the nose also he wears sometimes. Other than Nathani and all these things are not there. Like ladies have, they call it Mangtika and they have many things. But Kundal Krishna wears are very attractive. Yasyanana Makara Kundal Charu Karnam. So your grandson will be able to see Krishna, I mean Supreme Lord, inside, outside, the husband of Goddess of Fortune. It is predicted here that the grandson of Deity not only see the person in God within himself by meditation, but would also be able to see personally with his eyes. Direct vision is possible only for one who is highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, for it is not possible to see the Lord with material eyes. The Lord has multifarious forms, and the devotee of the Lord knows all these Vishnu forms. Pure devotee become attached to one of the eternal forms of the Lord, and the Lord is pleased to appear before him in the form desired. For as Prabhupada says, one should not get attracted to even the other forms of the Lord other than two forms. What are the two forms? Two-handed form of the Lord in Vrindavan. Shyam Sundar, Yashodanandan, that's all. No other form, not even Dwarka Krishna. A devotee does not imagine something whimsical about the form of the Lord, nor does he ever think that the Lord is impersonal, assumes a form desired by the non-devotee. The non-devotee has no idea of the form of the Lord, but thus he cannot think of any of the above-mentioned form. But when a devotee sees the Lord, he sees him in a most beautifully decorated form, accompanied by his constant companion, the Goddess of Fortune, who is eternally beautiful. So that form manifests at the stage of Nishtha, at least, Rupam. Before that, we cultivate because we read about Krishna and especially we read about Vrindavan Krishna. This pastimes of Vrindavan Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam are manifested in this millennium only when the original Vrindavan Krishna comes followed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna are very confidential, they are not revealed. The Vaikuntha pastime of Lord Narayana are revealed, but the Vraja pastimes are not revealed. They are the sweetest of them. And by hearing the Vrindavan pastime, a devotee naturally feels an inclination to love Krishna and Vrindavan. So that's how things. Welcome. Last verse. मैत्रेय उवाच श्रुत्वा भागवतं पौत्रम् अमोदत दितिर्भृशाम् पुत्रयोश्च वदं कृष्णात् विदित्वा सिं महामना.
The sage Maitre said, hearing that her grandson would be a great devotee and that her sons would be killed by Krishna, Diti was highly pleased in mind.
Viditva asit mahamana. Mahamana means she was really delighted. Now she knew everything. Still, it is interesting that after Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu are killed, again she becomes displeased. And again she does same story repeated again. Again Kashyap Muni becomes weak-hearted. Again he tries to please her and asks that the son should be born who will kill Indra. Now she knows Indra has anything to do here. No. But it's a very great, I mean, it takes a lot of maturity advancement to not see the immediate cause of something which is bound to happen. People often get caught up at immediate cause. इंदिरा के कारण मारा मेरे बच्चों को. अरे तुम्हारे बच्चे पहले ही मरने वाले थे. बच्चे होने से पहले ही भविष्यवाणी की है तुम्हारे पति ने तो मरने वाले ऐसे ही. But still when the sequence of things happen, we take the immediate cause as something very serious. वो जो भी मेरे भाग्य में लिखा होगा जो भी होना था लेकिन ये इसने ऐसा किया इसको देखूंगा मैं इसको छोड़ूंगा नहीं इसके कारण ऐसा. No. As we become proper mature devotee, we should not be too concerned about the immediate causes. We should deal with it, but not blame them, not criticize them. Things are planned by the Lord. Here you see what a plan it is. Everything is told in detail. But then she becomes so upset with the immediate cause, Indra. इंद्रियारि व्याकुलम लोकम मृगयन्ति मृदयमते. इंद्रा ने बुलाया भगवान को मारने के लिए मेरे बच्चों को. And how bad they are. She will keep them in the womb for 100 years. It will be coming in the next chapter. Tomorrow it will come. She knew they are demons, but still, mother's affection, love is blind. She was so affectionate to them. Diti became very pleased that her sons will be killed by Krishna, and yeah. Last verse. Diti was very aggrieved to learn that because of untimely pregnancy, her sons would be demons, would fight with the Lord. But when he heard that grandson was a great devotee, two sons would be killed by, she was very satisfied. As the wife of a great sage and daughter of a great Prajapati Daksha, she knew that being killed by the Lord is a great fortune since the Lord is absolute. Act of violence, non-violence are both on the absolute platform. There is no difference in such act of the Lord. Mundane violence, non-violence have nothing to do with the Lord. A demon killed by him attained the same result as the one who attained liberation after many, many births of penance and austerity. The word Vishnu is significant herein because it indicates that Diti was pleased beyond her expectations. So, thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Pregnancy of Diti in the evening. Thus we stop here for today. Sorry for taking 10 minutes extra because chapter is long. Tomorrow also there are longer purports. Let's see. Last 2 days are a little relaxed, but I don't want to, create a pending chapter because every chapter carries its own mood. As for Bhakti Pato Saurabh Maharaj, every verse is a personality, every chapter has a personality. He was saying, you heard that? He said every verse has a personality, in a spiritual form. A Bhagavatam verse is a personality. So it's still a little inconceivable for me and take some time to understand that. But when we are in a particular mood, in a particular scenario, when we complete it even little 10 minutes extra, then it's just gives us a deeper impression. And I spent a little time on glorification of Prahlad Maharaj because that's the whole purpose. Other things were a little different, but ends with Madhuram Eva Samapayet, ending with the glories and the wonderful qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. Thank you very much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. We'll meet tomorrow 10:45. Description of the kingdom of God. Tomorrow we are going to travel to Vaikuntha. Well, Bhagavatam beautifully describes it, but I mean, this one chapter a day is such a heavy thing. Otherwise, you can go to Brad Bhagavatam also and describe from there. But we'll stick to Bhagavatam. Okay. Very well. How many verses are there in this? 50. 50. So tomorrow demigods will approach Brahmaji. Brahmaji will pacify them. And then the four Kumaras will go on a tour, pilgrimage, and they will enter Vaikuntha. And the destination of the Vaikuntha will be there. And finally, a quarrel at the seventh gate will be there. And the Lord will arrive at the scene, but further conversation will happen later. Lord will arrive at the scene tomorrow in this chapter. Okay. Hare Krishna.